Well. Now, I don't know about everybody else out there, but I had a fantastic weekend.
Yeah.
I had a fantastic weekend. Shouts out to the Florida State Seminoles for putting that beat down on the fraudulent Alabama Crimson Tide. And good luck to all y'all Alabama fans out there because you are stuck with that guy for the foreseeable future because they are not going to pay him $80 million to go away.
That's
So
crazy.
I hope y'all enjoy that. But yeah, I had a great weekend. A lot of cool stuff happened. The Hurricanes also won, but yeah, we'll move on past that.
Yeah.
So yeah, JV Wins Doggone SS. We are back once again for another edition to the Conscious Approach channel on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already done so. Leave a comment. Hit that like button as well. Let us know what you think about the commentary in this or any other video as always. Also, check us out on Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. If you are so inclined to do so, because we are now also available on those channels as well. Just trying to be available in any and all places possible. So shouts out to everybody who has joined us and decided to become members of the tribe. We see y'all out there. Thank you to everybody who's been leaving comments, letting us know how much you think we are onto something, but also letting us know how much you think we suck. We will take any and all comments so long as they are constructive. So whether you agree with me or not is completely inconsequential because I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing anyway.
Yeah.
So hopefully you are not too defensive over opinions that differ from your own, but also not shy about expressing how you feel differently about some of the stuff that we like to talk about here. Now, with that out of the way, we'll go ahead and get things kicked off, man. We have a set of interesting topics to kick around the campfire tonight. First thing that we are going to get into is Mr. Michael Porter Jr. talking about people who pay money on OnlyFans. Now, I don't know whether this is all because he no longer plays for the Nuggets. So now he's in Brooklyn and now he feels Michael Porter Jr. has been doing a lot of talking.
Yes.
And not a lot of it has been uninteresting. So his most recent string of interesting comments was made during an appearance with Plaque Boy Max, who's a popular streamer on the internet. We've even brought up Plaque Boy Max here on Conscious Approach once in the past, I believe. And Michael Porter Jr. essentially they got onto the subject of OnlyFans, and Michael Porter Jr. was talking about how he thinks it's weird that guys would spend money on Sophie Rain's OnlyFans. For anyone who is unaware of who Sophie Rain is, Sophie Rain is a 20-year-old, I repeat, 20-year-old girl who made waves because in a year she made about $90 million on OnlyFans.
Jesus, please.
And so she is on the cutting edge of the extreme extent to which one can earn via being a content creator, more specifically a female content creator on OnlyFans. And we talked about Sophie Rain before because there was a guy named Charles who solely donated about $10 million throughout the course of a year to this girl's OnlyFans. Now, anybody who follows our channel and knows some of the stuff that we have said over the course of the history of our content knows where we stand when it comes to OnlyFans. We're not fans, let's put it that way. But we also try to critically and constructively give our 2 cents on how we feel about why it's proliferated so much to the degree that it has. But here's Michael Porter Jr., who is saying he thinks it's weird, that guys do this and that it's kind of lame and, essentially, he feels like it shouldn't be something that people are doing. And, Sophie Rain, the young girl herself, responded to Michael Porter Jr.'s comments by essentially saying no one would say anything if a man was doing this. Basically, she's trying to apply a gender equivalency to this to reveal how there is somehow a double standard with the way that we perceive OnlyFans versus the way that we perceive guys who are in similar positions. So, I'm not going to, continue to give an overview here, I'll just go ahead and review the article so that we can all get an accurate depiction of what's going on here. So this says Sophie Rain fires back at NBA star Michael Porter Jr. after viral OnlyFans comments. Sophie Rain responded publicly this weekend after NBA forward Michael Porter Jr. questioned her multi-million dollar earnings on OnlyFans, calling out the double standards surrounding women in the influencer economy versus male athletes in professional sports. The 20-year-old content creator, who recently revealed she made more than $82 million on the subscription platform over the past 18 months, issued a pointed rebuttal after Porter's comments went viral on Twitch. I think it's funny how men can dribble a ball and cash $30 million checks without anyone calling that lame, Rain said Saturday. But if a woman builds a business from nothing and earns more than some MVPs, suddenly it's a moral crisis. Porter, 26, voiced his views during a live stream with Twitch streamer Blackboy Max on Friday night. Referring to Rain's staggering earnings, he told viewers, "To me, it's kind of lame that dudes is giving her 50 M's, bro. They're over there in their little room being weird." He also questioned the authenticity of creator-fan interactions on OnlyFans, claiming they're probably talking to some dude in the Philippines who's running her account. So I'm going to skip through some of this because I'm going to play the video in which Michael Porter Jr. is saying this. But I did want to read the article because I wanted to read Sophie Rain's response. So let me see if there's any more that Sophie Rain said. No. So that was pretty much the extent of Sophie Rain. So she once again she said, "I think it's just, I just think it's funny how men can dribble a ball and cash $30 million checks without anyone calling that lame." And she also said, but if a woman builds a business from nothing and earns more than some MVPs, suddenly it's a moral crisis. So here's what Michael Porter Jr. said when asked about what he thinks about somebody like Sophie Rains earning as much money as she does on OnlyFans.
How you feel about, I don't know why they asked this either. How do you feel about Sophie Rain making $50 million on shit like OnlyFans? What you think about shit like that?
I mean, to me, it's kind of lame that dudes is giving her 50 M's, bro. Like,
facts. That's
you know
facts.
what I mean? And it be dudes who probably got wives and kids, and they're over there in their little room being
smacking
weird. Like,
mad meat.
To me, that's wild. I mean, like, I don't judge anybody, but like, that's wild to me. Like, I seen something, she made 80 some M's in the past year or two. Like, that's crazy. And the thing about that, bro, is these girls on OnlyFans, they're not even the ones typing, going back and forth with these dudes.
It's not. It's a whole man, bro.
They're probably talking to some dude in the Philippines who's running her account. So, like, y'all wasting y'all's bread doing that.
Yeah.
Stop wasting all this
information. Yeah, you know.
Wait, how do you know this?
Nigga, that's not. And I watched an interview of someone who runs one of those OnlyFans agencies, and they hire a bunch of dudes to like run the accounts.
Have you ever subscribed to somebody ever?
Keep it a buck. Have you ever subscribed?
I ain't never been on OnlyFans.
You ain't never went on that, June.
Nah, y'all know I'm open about pretty much everything. OnlyFans is something I've never been on.
All right.
You tell the truth.
I do tell the truth.
Okay.
That boy, he said that's a known fact. All right, so what do you think about this exchange, man? What do you think about Porter's comments, and what do you think about this Sophie Rain person's attempt to try to point out a double standard because she's building a business and blah, 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 blah?
Well, you know, as crazy as it sounds, man, they both have a point. Both of them are lame, and this is coming from somebody. Yeah, this is coming from somebody that aspired to play sports, watches sports. Yeah, I think it's egregious that these guys make $30 million dribbling a ball. I do think that's egregious. Now, when people want to get into the media rights and this and that, they earned it, the amount of money that goes into it. Okay, the people that are doing all of those things have an addiction. It's not the gambling or anything like that. You're addicted to a game as a grown ass man. Where you're supposed to be doing stuff that's more important in life. So he makes his revenue based on people, grown men, not being grown enough. And she makes her M's, as they say, M's, from grown men not being grown enough. It's two different sides of the same coin. So she brings up a good point. These dudes are just dribbling a ball, and so in essence, both of them are making a lot of money doing nothing. Now, people want to say that, oh, well, you know how much training goes into this, and all these guys, they play all these hours and blah, 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 so they earned the right to make that much money. No, they didn't. They didn't earn the right to make $30 million a year. Some of these guys suck. We talk about it all the time. This guy's trash. We shouldn't have gave him that much money. But, that's how the game that he's a part of runs. And the game that she's a part of, for better or for worse, that was $1 billion industry before OnlyFans. So now what has happened is it's just a direct to consumer. These guys were spending billions of dollars since the internet started with this. This was $1 billion industry for quite some time. So it's still $1 billion industry, clearly. And if there's an individual that can get direct to consumer and they're making that much money, then this is part of the media rights package that she gets. So all in all, degeneracy is running rampant. And so both sides are making a lot of money doing stuff that doesn't contribute to society either way. So she does have a good point there. But he also has a good point because, well, we've talked about it all the time over here. That stuff is lame. But putting things in perspective, man, big brain in it. People need to get over the fact that, basketball and football and things of that nature, they need to get over the fact that it should consume as much as their life as it does, and get into the act of going, well, I'm just spending a lot of time, myself included now, but just call it what it is. I'm spending a lot of time investing in something that does nothing for me in the long term. The ROI on me watching sports is no gains on that. So point well taken. I mean, I hear what she said. It was a little baby bop bimbo-ish, But at the end of the day, she brings up a good point that nobody calls you guys lame. And, people need to start calling these guys lame. Last thing I'll say is people treat Michael Jordan like he's a deity, a walking deity. The only thing he did was play basketball. He did nothing else. I mean, I guess people want to contribute him changing the shoe game. It's shoes. That does nothing. What Michael Jordan has done for, let's say, our community specifically, you know what I'm saying, society, he's done nothing besides dribble a ball. But people want to treat him as a deity and not people that actually contributed to the uplifting and elevation of people and, humanity. So all in all, I think that these things are the side effects, these two things, these two industries of a corporatocracy that's built on generating distractions for either males or females, and both in this context, both males. But what are your thoughts, man? Miss Sophie Rain sitting around here saying, hey, man, nobody's calling these basketball players lame for dribbling the ball. But what are your thoughts, man?
There was one more thing that she said. I thought that there was a quote that I missed. I want to read this real quick. Mm-hmm. This is another thing that Sophie Rain said. She said, not gonna lie, it's usually men with the most to say about OnlyFans who secretly wish they could charge $29.99 a month just to exist.
No, that's not true.
So I disagree with some of what you said. So mm-hmm. First, let me address her real quick. Mm-hmm. I think her attempt to equivocate professional sports with OnlyFans is nasty work, in my opinion. And the reason why I say that is because of what she said. Um, Professional athletes factually don't by birthright make it to the professional level simply because they exist. There is some physical output, there's some work, there's some training, there's some practice that goes into that. If that weren't the case, then everybody who's 6'6" would be in the NBA. And everybody who's 6'6" is not in the NBA because there is a talent weeding out type process that takes place, which dictates that not everybody gets there. That's why there's only but so many people who can actually make it to that level. Because despite your genetic predispositions, there is some kind of training, work, practice. There's some sort of a commitment to work ethic that's going to have to go into the equation in order for you to make it to that point. Juxtaposed to OnlyFans, which, as far as I can tell, a woman merely has to exist in order to be able to make it to the point that she got to. Now, I'm pretty sure that there is a selection process, even in the microeconomy, which is the sexual marketplace with content creation, because I'm pretty sure there's tiers of earners on that. I'm not on it either. I've never spent a dime. I don't know anything about it. I just know about the stuff that I read via journalistic credible sources. But I would imagine that it's a microeconomy that exists the same as any other microeconomy, in which there's tiers of people who earn money based on extenuating circumstances. So I would imagine she's at the top of the food chain, and there's probably women who make less than her, and women who make less than that, and women make less than that. So just like in the NBA, there is probably a weeding out natural selection type process that goes into effect, which dictates not everybody has the potential to make the most money, and not everybody has the potential to make the middle money. And the majority of the people, in all likelihood, are probably going to be making the low rung of the money of the ones who elect to get into it. Be that as it may, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, be that as it may, I still find it to be nasty work to equivocate professional sports to OnlyFans, because there is an aspect of OnlyFans to me that is such that you can exist and still have a shot. Whereas I can like basketball all I want, but simply because I exist in the world and like basketball does not give me an equal amount of chance to be able to perform it at a professional level and make a lot of money. So for her to try to draw that kind of an equivalency, to me, is nasty work. And I think that it's ridiculous that she went that far. But she's also a 20-year-old child, and 20-year-olds don't know shit. As an individual who was once 20 years old, I didn't know anything at 20 years old. And I might think that that's something that makes sense until I get 5, 10 years down the road and realize that that's actually something that doesn't make any sense. So from that standpoint, I'm going to cut her a little bit of slack. She's a 20-year-old kid, and she thinks she probably spoke some kind of ridiculous gospel by trying to say that they're the same. They're not the same. And that's nasty work. And they're not the same based on her own comments, whether she realizes it or not, because you cannot exist and be a professional and be a professional basketball player. You can't. Many of us can come out wanting to play basketball, and a lot of us can have a lot of the physical measurables and try to play basketball. There's a greater natural selection process that prohibits the vast majority of us from being able to do so. Yet disproportionately, there is by far a greater percentage of individuals who, if they are so inclined, can get into the OnlyFans game merely because they exist. So I don't like that equivalency that she tried to make. It came, in my opinion, from a place of tremendous ignorance. But having said that, I will also say that, as you said, they are both right in what they said respectively. I think what he said is correct in that it is lame to spend your money on OnlyFans. I think the only reason why OnlyFans exists is because I believe human civilization right now is experiencing a litany of mental diseases, one of which is being an advanced form of sexual deviancy and social atrophy. And I think when you have a society, a world population full of primarily men suffering from these various diseases, social anxiety, social atrophy, depression, mental health issues, all sexual deviancy, and inability to keep it in the pants, as you like to articulate. I think all of these problems coalesce in the creation of a marketplace which allows something like OnlyFans to persist. And it opens up the floodgates for individuals such as her to fill that void and provide a need, albeit a very perverse, sad need, but a need that does exist nonetheless. And I think she's right when she says, um, people wish that they could make a living merely off of existing. I also think that that's true. I think that a lot of people in the world do harbor some kind of a resentment towards individuals in her position, because even though they may talk about how opposed they are to it, if push came to shove and they had the opportunity to replicate that formula and make $82 million in a year simply because they exist as an attractive human, they jump all over the chance to be able to do it. But not everybody can do it. And so the ones who can't tend to complain about the moral implications of it. So I do think that they both do have a point in what they're saying, respectively, and as well for all the reasons that you put out there. Neither one of them is curing cancer. Neither one of them are first responders. Neither one of them is saving lives. Neither one of them is constructively, tangibly contributing to society in a meaningful way, necessarily. Even though I do think that when it comes to sports, even though I do hear what you're saying and I mostly agree, I'll give more credit for that to ball players than OnlyFans per people, just because of the context of sports, because sports can teach you valuable life lessons, things like teamwork and work ethic and how to cooperate and work with others, and those kinds of experiences that do help to reinforce a person's, self-worth and their social skills. Those are various intangible intrinsic qualities that you can glean via participation in sports that you can't glean from being a slower on OnlyFans, in my opinion. So I will hold sports in a higher regard than content creating within that context for those particular reasons. But I do agree that in the grand scheme of things, they're both inconsequential when it comes to what makes this thing go around and what makes us all better people. So from that standpoint, I do think that they both made valid points. I just don't like that equivalency that she tried to bring up. To me, that was a bogus equivocation, and in my estimation, that's nasty work.
Well, I mean, yeah, of course. This is coming from the mind of, like, as you said, a 20-year-old OnlyFans air quote model. I don't even know what she does. At this point, I don't even think she has to do anything anymore. As far as whatever she does is her content. I don't think she's a splacker. I think she just takes pictures.
Yeah.
Which is even more insane. I don't get it, man. I don't get that. And so, yeah, man, I want a little galaxy brain on the sports thing, but men need to think about that more often. They really need to focus on how big of a distraction sports in general is. And I love sports. All right. So don't get me wrong here. I'm not on the soapbox here, but at some point, I know what my vices are as well. And so, at some point, you do have to go, hey, this is cool. I enjoy it. But me knowing all of these nuanced stats, me knowing all of this stuff, me spending hours on end just watching those things, you're missing out on prime time, no pun intended, for you to be doing things to improve your own life. Whether that's picking up a ball and going playing yourself. And learning all of those things, that sportsmanship and all of those good things, and having competitive exchanges and all of those things, because I learned a lot playing the sport myself. But at some point, while I was playing it every day, it lost its purpose, in the sense of me doing it to stay healthy, me doing it for whatever, and it just became this prolonged hobby where I'm just wasting hours on end doing it. And I'm not doing anything else to improve my current life circumstances, outside of being healthier, which is nice, but there's a balance to that. You can do that and get out. But I'm spending hours after we finish playing. I'm sitting there hours on end talking about sports, and it will repeat itself the next day. And so instead of me, learning, using that brain power and other things to put the right building blocks in place for my life or other people's lives. And and sports is a grand distraction. And so when they were doing that stuff back in the days of Rome, and they had the Colosseum and all of that stuff, man, they would hold these events to keep the people in line. And one of the things that sports is here to do, football and basketball here in America, it's meant to keep the men in line. It's meant it is an institution. Both of them are an institution meant to control men's energy. And just imagine those dudes out there that's running, that's 6'5", 280 pounds, run a 4.5, and just slamming into people. Those guys are warriors. That's a warrior class of people. Now, granted, time has passed where people aren't doing hand-to-hand combat anymore. But the point I'm trying to make here is that these guys are superior athletes. Some of these guys have superior minds, and a lot of this stuff is being channeled and funneled towards using that to shoot it from the logo. And my point is, instead of contributing to society, they're spending a lot of time on these courts and fields. So I think men need to get off themselves and realize they've got with sports, and realize that what the world's crashing around you and stuff, like, it didn't get that way overnight. It got that way because you were sleeping and watching sports, sleeping and watching OnlyFans too. All right, but they're both in the bucket of you're wasting your time. And so I think that not that this Sophie Rain woman is some type of philosopher. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, she just literally pulled this from, well, you're not calling them lame. So she didn't go through this deep level of thought. Trust me. I'm not saying that she did, nor am I defending her. Okay. But sometimes, an idiot says something that, they may not know exactly what they said, but it's like, nah, if you extrapolate that, they do have a point, and which explains why a lot of these ball players are lame. And we talk about them all the time, wasting money on OnlyFans models. These guys are missing something from dribbling that ball all the time. They're missing brain cells. So all in all, yeah, man, she's no grand philosopher. She's not. She didn't crush this. This wasn't some, brain busting take. All right. But I'm just saying that, on the flip side of this, men do need to prioritize themselves, because that was my first thing, football, basketball. And it's still that way on the weekends, man. But, I try to put that in perspective and know that there's bigger things important in life than my favorite sports team. So I would say that.
Yeah, I can understand that. For me, it's a balancing act. Me personally, the way that my brain is set up, I can't be 100% on the go trying to fix the world 24/7. Like, my brain will explode if I do that. So sports for me has always just been a form of escapism. It's no different than what movies or TV shows used to be. Like, now as an adult, instead of waking up on Saturday mornings to watch Spider-Man the animated series or X-Men the animated series, I watch Ohio State, Texas. They both sort of satiate the same need in my brain that I have. It's just, as a child it was cartoons, now it's sports. So I don't besmirch anybody who likes to get into sports, but it can't control everything that you're doing. So there needs to be a balancing act, and of course, you need to be able to balance how you apply your time to constructive things versus when you need the time to unplug away from that and allow yourself enough time to recharge by engaging in some of the various forms of escapism that you like to engage in. So, it's all a balancing act. I feel you on that. I used to, there was a point in time in which anybody who wanted to argue that LeBron was better than Kobe, for example, that it would almost result in a fist fight. There was a point in time in my life where those types of conversations consumed my consumed my thought processes so much that if I were to engage in any of those types of conversations, at the very least there would be a lively argument, and at the most it might result in some sort of a shouting match or a borderline fight. And a very long time ago, I matured out of that because I realized there's absolutely no point to this. It's an exercise in futility. What does convincing a person that Kobe is better than LeBron tangibly bring to my life? Absolutely nothing. So there's really no point in engaging in these arbitrary conversations. It's ridiculous. So from that standpoint, I was able to mature out of that point where it controlled me. And now it's a balancing act where I engage with it for periods of escapism whenever I need to decompress and enjoy a little bit of extracurricular activity before I jump back into the meat and potatoes of how to improve my life and how to find meaningful ways to contribute to, those around me, for example. But when it comes to OnlyFans, to me, the existence of it is a different, more perverse form of nasty work. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. And I'll say it again. I've never been a fan of humans being able to self-actualize to that degree merely for existing. And that's not a gender specific thing. I feel that way, period. I'm not a fan of any celebrity dude, for example, who is famous and or well, I don't care about the fame, but someone who's self-actualized to a degree to where they're perhaps generationally wealthy or able to make moves out here, and they didn't really contribute anything meaningfully. They're just a personality. That affronts my sensibilities as well. So it's not a gender specific thing. I'm against that in totality, no matter who you are.
Mhm.
But as a man, I feel an extra level of ire directed towards OnlyFans because I think it's having a detrimental impact on the various aspects of a man's inner like wherewithal to be able to contribute to the world in meaningful ways. When you're stuck on these apps and you're liking these chicks' pics and you're paying them and you're not getting anything tangible out of it, and all you're doing is being patronized in ways that don't actually help you, you're devoting an inordinate amount of time to that practice that you otherwise could be spending actually doing something and making moves in the world. Self-actualizing, 7 habits of highly effective people type stuff, shifting paradigms so that you can contribute to society. But I feel like there's more men spending money and hours on that platform than there are guys who are spending inordinate amounts of time on sports these days. Not that the sports thing isn't happening, because I know that it is, but this OnlyFans stuff and just the sexual marketplace and the proliferation of it in general is completely out of control, in my opinion. But it's something that can be curtailed if people just stop feeding the beast. But I do get the sense that a lot of guys who complain about it are the very same individuals who also spend money on it. So people need to take inventory on their priorities and switch some stuff around, because so long as we don't do that, individuals like her can continue to do this kind of stuff. Because, where I will agree with MPJ is there is something about the fact that she makes that much money doing this that rubs my sensibilities the wrong way, more so than a pro athlete making that kind of money. And I think for me, it boils down to my perception of the work that needs to be put into becoming a professional athlete that I think is absent in terms of the work that one needs to put in to get to where she got to. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be some person who can intelligently articulate how she put in just as much work as him, and I will just I'll call BS on that. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna call BS on that all day, every day. And there's also probably some smart intellectual people out there who will be able to substantiate why what she is saying is true and that it's not a false equivocation, that indeed being a professional athlete is the exact same thing as being on OnlyFans. And I would just chalk that up to more evidence of social deconstruction. To me, they are not the same. Both of them, however, in the grand scheme of things, to your point, are meaningless. So I do hear what you're saying from that standpoint. I just don't like what she tried to equivocate that. I don't like the way she tried to equivocate that. To me, it's nonsense. And I do, yeah, that's it. I just think that what she said was nonsense. But both of them to me are not as important as many other things going on around us for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree, bro. And last thing I'll say is that when people get paid tens of millions of dollars per year, and you know about it, it's a distraction. Um, I mean, we know all of these football players and NBA players' salaries. If you're into international football, all that good stuff, tennis, which we'll cover later. Everybody knows their salary. Everybody knows it's very nice money. Whenever they win a prize, everybody knows what they make. Yeah, these grandiose things, they serve as a distraction, as they're paid very well to distract you. That's my point. And so the same thing goes with this industry here, and these OF girls, because what it's done is it has taken women that would not have historically gotten to that industry into that industry, and men have been beaten down so much that they run to that place to go get female interactions. It's these both of these systems are here to distract us from getting things done individually in our own lives, and of course, the individual ultimately equals the collective. So if there's issues going on in society right now, you know, where people aren't just being humane and X, Y, or Z, you can point your finger at whatever distracts them from being the better version of themselves. And so there's a lot of people that are a lot of people into the OF stuff, which again we don't understand, but you know, but and myself included into the sports. Hey man, go Canes, bro. You know, and I'm gonna say that at the end of the show too. Probably another time in between then. I'm not above this. I'm just letting y'all know that I see the game, and I make sure that I am not being swept up in the wave. I'd say that. So kudos to this young lady. Hopefully one of these days I'll see a bag that big. So because this is not going to stop. This is not going to stop. So instead of me getting upset about it, I just rather ring the bell and tell people to reconsider. So best of luck to you, MPJ. You're doing a lot of talking, bro. I guess the Nuggets had a anti-social media clause where you couldn't just go out there and run your damn mouth.
It seems like it. That's what it seems like.
Yeah. So shout out to MPJ, man. Always good for the content nowadays.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't like her. I don't like her, but that's I don't like her, but I don't like her because I personally have something against OnlyFans and just the sexual marketplace in general. I'm not a fan of it. I think it has I think it is having a very tremendous detrimental impact on men, and by extension, it is therefore having a very detrimental impact on society at large. So she is a chief agent of this modern sexual marketplace, and I just don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like her. I don't like OnlyFans. I hate all of it. But I will also say, if I am going to be fair and reasonable, which I try to be, I can say all that, but then I can also say that I don't really blame her. I blame the individuals who contribute to allowing the marketplace to exist in the first place.
There
They
you
are the
go.
ones they are the ones who are the most responsible for this, not her. She is merely capitalizing off of a very glaring weakness. So it ain't all her, it's the individuals who allow it to proliferate. They're the real problems, not her.
Yeah, 1,000, bro. Are you white knighting over there? Are you? Brr, 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 brr. I'm just joking, bro.
Shouts out to MPJ, man. But yeah, I can't get down with her or any of these chicks. They make my skin crawl.
Hey, man, if you watching this stream, I hope y'all make 50 million in a year, man. So shout out to y'all, man. Skr, skr.
Now on some more lighthearted news, we got Shaquille O'Neal, who is contributing or investing in a scholar program that seeks to provide individuals with the opportunity to earn a modicum of a higher education completely debt free. So this is something that came across my radar not too long ago. This says Shaquille O'Neal backs debt free degrees for the next generation through campus's new scholars program. Shaquille O'Neal is backing a scholarship to support the next generation of creators and entrepreneurs. As Afrotech previously reported, O'Neal is an investor in Campus, a 2-year accredited school with part time instructors from top universities. It was founded by Tad or Orinde, I hope I'm saying that right, but I'm probably not, to ensure students receive a debt free education. We did not want to add $1 to the pile of student loan debt in this country. That's super key for me, Orinde said on the Black Tech Green Money podcast. Orende has raised millions for the education venture, and O'Neal is one of its investors, in addition to OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and Discord founder Jason Citron. Now, O'Neal is strengthening his commitment to the student population through his involvement with the Campus Merit Scholars Program. A press release states that students selected as Shaq Scholars will be eligible for a full tuition scholarship to pursue an associate degree in business administration or information technology. Participants will also receive a laptop, Wi Fi, and 2 years of instruction from professors with tenure at institutions such as Stanford University, Princeton University, Howard University, and others. Additionally, students will receive mentorship from Silicon Valley leaders and personal coaching. Ideal candidates are students building a business, developing a creative brand, or offering solutions to improve their communities. I've always believed in hard work, grit, and surrounding yourself with the right people, O'Neal explained in a press release. This is about building confidence, creating opportunity, and helping students turn potential into power. I can't wait to meet this year's class of scholars. Orende added, maximizing access to world class education has always been the name of the game. It's obviously super exciting that legends like Shaq are contributing to that. So, there you go. Debt free. Looks like it's like some kind of a 2-year program. Shaq is an investor. So, what do you make about this development with Shaq investing in this venture?
Shout out to Shaq, I guess, with this. Now, this is, speaking on the last topic, if these guys so happen to make millions of dollars and then they wanted to individually turn around, which a lot of them do, and put money towards a cause they believe in, I have no problems with that. And so, Shaq, who's got, a lot of investments uh while he was well, I don't know while he was playing, but I know for sure he had a lot of sponsorships while he was playing, a lot of sponsorships after. And he's also a bit of a businessman. So for him to use his capital to invest in making sure that, these youngins get an education without a debt on the surface sounds great to me. But of course, I'm a cynical man and I always wear my conspiracy caps, the tinfoil variety, if you wanted to be specific. And the article sounds like a good puff piece PR situation where this is just another Shaq endorsement, if you ask me. He's the face of this endeavor where they are investing in the next wave of people who are going to contribute. But once they said that, uh, also there's other investors that are part of OpenAI and some of the first of all, OpenAI. Now I thought Google was Skynet. OpenAI is probably like another branch of Skynet. Um, so hearing their name on something and them putting themselves behind something, I'm going to be a little skeptical of that. And um, so it makes sense that OpenAI and these other places are looking to, because they also said that these people are going to get mentored by them and all these other things. So they're not just giving them a free education and letting them run away. This is kind of a build up situation. It eventually turned into an internship and eventually employment. So they're investing in the next wave of people that's going to be able to contribute to Skynet. And so they want to see people that already are taking initiatives, that are air quote giving back to their community and doing other things, because they don't just want some slouch to get a free education. They want somebody that actually moves, kind of like a 360 deal these rappers do. If you're already rapping, already got a fan base and stuff like that, that's easy for me to invest in. You're already taking the initiative. If I put money behind you, you're really gonna make things jump. And so same thing going here with this scholarship or whatever this thing is here, program or what have you. So all in all, it sounds great. But to me, I think this is just, which they have every right to, is to funnel everybody into their business. And I think Shaq is, he's good PR, you know, and this has definitely scratched the surface of the African American population once they find out that Big Shaq Diesel is helping people get free education. So it'll also spark those minds in that community as well. But overall, I'm not opposed to young people getting a free education. I just hope that it's not going towards Skynet duties. But what are your thoughts, man, on Shaq Diesel running around here, being a part and investing in the future so these kids can have a debt-free education?
Yeah, I can't. I'm not going to be as cynical as you because I don't know I don't know the flow of the money. I can't speculate on that. So I'll let you have that. Um, I just think on the surface, I like it because you know, yes, it funnels. It appears to be a mechanism that is going to serve to funnel young, bright minds into future employment situations.
Mm-hmm.
But such is life in westernized society. 10% of the population is self-employed or unemployed. The rest of the 90% of us are employed in some capacity. So if there are 90% of us who are employed in some capacity, I can take solace in knowing that there's going to be a decent chunk of them who will have the opportunity to at least be gainfully employed. Now, this is not JV Wins in defense of employment. Don't get it twisted.
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure about that. This is not JV Wins in defense of employment because I do think that the modern day workforce is a funnel system for the slavery system that is employment. I do believe that. But within that context, being in a position of gainful is something totally different than being in a position to live paycheck to paycheck, middle class, not being able to actually live any sort of meaningful life in any kind of way because you're always scrounging, looking for the next opportunity to get a check so that you can get by. Um, One of the ways that prohibits people from being able to, at the very least, financially self-actualize is financial debt. Speaking as an individual who is currently in the midst of dealing with financial debt stemming from trying to pursue a collegiate education, it is an albatross that hangs around your neck into perpetuity until you can figure out creative ways to get yourself from up under it. So I am very much in favor of individuals who can be put into a position to at least not have to deal with that aspect of adult stress. I'm just going to say, given my personal experience, I'm not opposed to that. Also, additionally, you know, I am a firm believer that the world is moving in a particular direction. And I think if you are not earning a living doing things in what I call market proof industries, things in which, when I say market proof, I'm talking about, well, let me back up. There's two types of market proof industries. There are traditional market proof industries, and then there are market proof industries that are dictated upon the way that the world is moving into the future with how things are going. You have to be in one of those two areas in order to sustain yourself in the future, in my opinion. And you can only sustain yourself in traditional market proof industries if you are doing something that will always be in demand no matter which direction the world moves in. So, for example, I'll give you one example of what I believe is a market proof traditional industry, which is real estate. I think no matter where we go with AI, no matter where we go with technology, no matter where we go with the eradication of labor, you're still going. People are still going to need places to live. People are still going to want to buy houses. People are still going to want to invest in commercial properties to run businesses. I feel like that's not going to go anywhere. So if you can gain an expertise in that particular skill, you will have something that the future world will need, albeit it being something that has been around for a very long time. And if it's not something like that, you better be involved in something that's future proof. And I do believe applied sciences, information technology, STEM sciences are future proof because the world is headed in that direction. So if these scholarship programs result in being able to find constructive ways to funnel people into those areas so that they can at least not be beholden to a paycheck to paycheck existence, I can take a small victory lap in that. But aside from that, I hear everything that you're saying. There's always going to be a caveat. I don't know the extent to which OpenAI and these various sponsors have a hand in influencing the direction of the individuals who try to take advantage of these programs. I'm pretty sure to a certain extent there's an aspect of that that's taking place. I'm just looking at the bottom line of the wealth gap and my desire to see the stemming of that to a certain degree, because right now it's out of control. Right now, what we're looking at right now is a situation in which you are really going. I mentioned Judge Dredd before, and I say that because I mean it. We're looking at a Dawn of the Dead, Judge Dredd type situation where you're going to have 80% of the population who didn't try to capitalize on future proof markets to survive, sitting on the outskirts of society, barely making it. And you're going to have 20% of the population who, either because they had insider information or they had an enroll to be able to capitalize on these things, be on the cutting edge of being able to take advantage of the direction or the wave that the world is moving in. And you're going to have 20% of the population looking down on the 80% of the rest of us who are fighting for the scraps in the cursed wasteland. And so I think if there are programs like this who can even out that split, or at the very least curve it a little bit so that it's not 80-20, maybe it's, 75-25, 70-30, 65-35, I can accept that despite my misgivings with employment in general. But something's got to give with these world markets and these world economies. The chasm is getting greater by the day, and there's just going to be a whole lot of people out here who wake up one day and realize that their $80,000 a year income is the new poor, and they're going to be looking around wondering what the hell happened to them. And the individuals who were able to see the forest from the trees and know what was coming are going to be in the ivory tower looking down on the rest of us saying, we got y'all, and now we're going to continue to make money off of you. So if this program can have more people who are in that ivory tower than not, I say kudos, even though there's probably going to be some BS that goes on, because there's always some BS that goes on. I've let that go. I'm not going to be able to stop that. Just like you said in the previous topic, There's always like with the OF stuff and all of this kind of stuff, it will continue. And all you can do is just offer up words of wisdom from time to time to say, hey, there's another way. All I can do is say, hey, man, there's another way. But corporatocracy is always going to do what it does. Corporations are always going to do what they do. It is what it is. I'm exhausted at this point from railing against that because it's not going to stop. But give people a bigger paycheck, give people a bigger payday, give them at least the chance to not languish in the cursed earth 50 to 100 years from now. And I'll take that as a small victory lap.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that, man. And also, man, with the, the point, to your point, with the Judge Dredd, Mad Maxian future that's ahead of us, is being driven by companies like OpenAI. And that's also my point. That it's not going to, they're the people that are going to be benefactors of this are most likely going to be absorbed by them because of the mentorship and all of the stuff that they mentioned. These are code words, dog whistles, as some may say, for the people that are going to be a part of this program will be ultimately absorbed into these things because we're literally paying for your education. And once that happens, these people will be on the side of Skynet. And these people won't be a part of the general population. This would be a part of the population that's getting paid by the entities that want to see this type of future. Because nobody's asking for this besides them. Nobody cared. Nobody wanted any of this stuff that's being introduced to us. But here it is, version, 5, version 6, version 7. They're going to keep coming out with these things. And they're going to keep being more and more aggressive with automating everything that stuff people are not asking for. So, and that's the reason why, because my antennas go up, man. Whenever I hear certain things, I could be very wrong. I'm generally not. Okay, but I could be very wrong. I could be very wrong, man, with this. But my ears always perk up when I hear certain buzzwords or certain companies or whatever, because at this point it's okay. Well, what is this about? Because I don't know if you've watched Futurama, man, but they had a little character on there. It was like the robot devil or whatever. Funny character, man. But it was the robot devil, man. You just couldn't trust him. And so whatever he said or whatever, he was going to turn on you somehow, some way, and then get a good laugh at it on the back end. And so whenever certain corporations that have this label from me, and they do certain things publicly, or they say certain things publicly, which is good for their PR. I mean, why wouldn't they do that? Then of course, but then I always look on the back end of what do y'all benefit from this story from? And that's where my mind's eye came from when I was saying all these things. And then from all of this, how does Shaq fit into this? Well, Shaq could do anything. He's got like icy hot other things going on. Like Shaq could do any goddamn thing for a check.
Yeah, it's less about Shaq and it's more about the program. Because he's just another millionaire investor. Like he's
that's what I'm saying. Why? My thing is why. And so, because it's from the kindness of his heart, yeah, right. My thing, it's not. And so, what's the why behind this? And that's when I get to thinking and theorizing. So I could be very wrong. All right. Some people or corporations may actually do something from the kindness of their heart. Me personally, I don't think that's always true. So I'm hoping for the best, and for the people that do get that money and those jobs, first of all, get in the program or get whatever this thing is, get a good paying job, wishing the best for those people, and hopefully you take care of yours, man, when Mad Max hits your streets.
I think the difference between you and me is I don't care about whether corporations do anything out of the goodness of their heart. I don't care. The only thing I care about is, does this give, Tyrone the opportunity to, gain an education that allows him to make 6 figures a year. That's what I'm thinking about, is the yield giving Tyrone or Jimmy or John, someone who otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity to do that, the chance to make 6 figures a year doing something that isn't going to mandate that 15 to 20 years from now, what they do in the world is obsolete and therefore they're no longer required. Now, for all I know, that can still happen. I don't know. This stuff, as you said, is happening very aggressively. So, from one year to the next, seemingly things are so radically different. You can't really predict how different things are going to be. So I don't know the degree to which things will be different 15 to 20 years from now. But all that being said, if the yield is giving people who otherwise wouldn't have had the chance to do so the opportunity to just make the money, I'm looking at this, bro, from a very bare bones perspective, because I hear where you're coming from and I don't disagree with you. But I think in order to have the chance to not be victimized by this Mad Maxian future, the first step is to not be beholden to the economics of it. And the consumers amongst us, the ones who spend money for a living, the ones who have to work for a living and then spend money in order to stay alive, essentially, that's cattle fodder for everybody else. That's cattle fodder for said Mad Maxian future. So if you can remove yourself from that ecosystem, you stand a better chance of being absolved from being victimized by it, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so that's kind of why I look at it from the standpoint of what's the yield. If the yield is give people more chances to be put in that position, then I'm going to say hopefully it works out. But in terms of whether the origins of it are benevolent in any kind of way, I don't even care. As a matter of fact, my assumption is that there's going to be some sort of a kickback or some sort of an advantage that goes back to the individuals or the entities that put resources into the actualization of the program. So I'm operating under a default assumption that that's going to take place. I just don't care, because I know that I don't maintain the expectation that they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. I never cared about that. I just want to see more people than not be able to live in the 80-foot tower or the 80,000 skyscraper tower, and less people who are having to scrape by in the cursed earth, because I do foresee a future in which there is going to be a cursed earth. And literally speaking, is it going to be exactly the way it's depicted in stuff like Judge Dredd? Perhaps not. But whatever the cursed earth of the real world future looks like 15, 20, 100 years from now, it will be here. And there are going to be individuals who are going to have to navigate that terrain. And you do want to position yourself now so that both yourself and future generations in your bloodline don't have to navigate that terrain.
Yeah, and last thing I say, I hear you, man. And the reason why I care is that if these people that do get a part of this end up doing it for not the right reasons, then it drives. They're putting the best and the brightest in the hands of Skynet, which then drives the future to come faster or to actually come. And so instead of taking those best and brightest to do something that is more where man and AI can live in conjunction, it's more of a situation where it's driving this authoritarian weird future down the line if they keep absorbing the best and brightest through programs like this. So me caring whether they care or not, me caring whether they are looking out for the best interests of humanity matters to me, because if they succeed in getting the best and brightest, then it drives their agenda and their future, and which is not in the minds. And so that's the reason why I care. But I hear what you mean in principle, in the sense that, hey, at least some people ain't on the streets, at least these people want to have a job. That's what I care about, and that's cool. And I'm just telling you, the reason why I care is that those people have a job and have a nice house, but at the expense of 10,000 more people for that one person that got that education, I'm not here for it. And that's the reason.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see how the numbers shake out. However the numbers shake out is how the numbers will shake out in terms of the way that it funnels people into the right corridors. There was also, again, it just all depends. Like if some people gain the education, but then go and open up their own businesses or open their own startups or figure something else out to, seed and make and give other people's opportunity. It can go into a wealth of different directions.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
we just don't know how it's going to pan out. I think it can go either way. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I think you mentioned something before where you've said begrudgingly, if you want to be on the other side of this thing, you're going to have to figure out
We're
how
gonna
to
figure
be
something out.
someone that they need to like service the AIs and all of that kind of stuff. So, whether we like it or not, the stuff is coming. So it's one of those situations where, yeah, ideally, I do want it to be a situation in which it isn't fulfilling an agenda. But that's where my cynicism comes into play because I just think it automatically by default. Because when you say it's a difference in perspective. When you say, you know, are they going to utilize these skill sets or this knowledge to do good things for mankind? OpenAI and Discord, they believe that what they're doing is for the good of mankind.
Of course.
So we're saying the same thing, but we have different definitions of. No. I'm saying
I know.
like your school of thought and their school of thought. You guys are using the same language, ironically. But despite the fact that you're using the same language, you're literally saying two completely different things. And these individuals believe that what they're doing is for the good of the world. It's like what I said last week about the whole putting the weird themes into the children's movies. My perspective on that being something inappropriate for children's movies is irrelevant. They're going to keep doing it anyway because they believe that by infusing these themes into children's movies, they're doing the right thing for humanity. And that's the crazy part. So, we'll have to see how it works out. But I'm telling you right now, they think they're doing good.
Yeah, which is also I hear what you're saying, man. But they know that their good is opposite of my good. And they don't, and they don't give a
Yeah,
damn.
they say you're being regressive.
Which is fine. But hey, man, but more power to all of these people, man. Do what y'all do. Um, you know, make the best of life, man. I'll tell you that. Regardless of whatever's coming down the line with these AI models or whatever. So yeah, take advantage of these things and try to save your own. I say that.
Yeah, that's a good way to leave it because it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen regardless. And now we have Shannon Sharpe and Ray Lewis. So Shannon Sharpe, of course, continues to take shrapnel from the fallout of his settling of his civil case with, his own Sophie reign.
Exactly.
Because they're both OnlyFans. They're both OnlyFans avatars.
Entertainers.
And, whatever word you want to use. So you got Shannon Sharpe out here, who is clearly someone who is amongst those who pays for these types of women. That is no longer an opinion. And, he's kind of fallen out of favor when it comes to the court of public opinion. He was riding high with his own platforms and being on ESPN. But, in the midst of the fallout of what happened between him and this girl who sued him and made off with a $20-30 million bag or however much she got from him. He was fired by ESPN, and now he's primarily doing his Club Shay Shay and Nightcap thing. And Ray Lewis has talked about distancing himself from Shannon Sharpe because he saw the timeline that Shannon Sharpe was on early on when it started to become clear that Shannon Sharpe was going to become a media personality. And so Ray Lewis was recently on a show and he talked about how, he saw the tea leaves and realized the road that Shannon Sharpe was going down and, didn't necessarily want to be a part of it. And then Shannon Sharpe in response has basically come out and said, hey man, people want to take their shots, go ahead. I don't even have anything to say. So this says Shannon Sharpe responds to Ray Lewis's criticism of his media persona. Shannon Sharpe has addressed pointed comments made by his former Baltimore Ravens teammate Ray Lewis after the Hall of Fame linebacker openly criticized Sharpe's approach to media and podcasting. Lewis made his remarks on an episode of the PBD podcast where he expressed his disappointment in the type of content Sharpe has been producing since transitioning to the talk show host and podcast world. Lewis said he is shocked by Sharpe's content and accused him of buying into the controversy-driven world of talk shows and gossip culture. Sharpe caught wind of his former teammates' comments and proceeded to respond on his nightcap show with Chad Ochocinco Johnson. The three-time Super Bowl champion took the high road and acknowledged how people are taking shots at him. Sharpe suggested that the recent wave of criticism directed his way is more about timing than substance. While Sharpe wasn't explicit, his comments about timing undoubtedly referred to him settling a sexual assault case in July and his subsequent firing by ESPN. This latest interaction between Sharpe and Lewis comes more than 2 decades after Sharpe publicly gave an impassioned speech defending Lewis ahead of Super Bowl 35, following Lewis's guilty plea to obstruction of justice in a 2000 double murder case. So here are Ray Lewis's initial comments in reference to Shannon Sharpe's direction as a content creator or a media personality.
Shannon Sharpe, did you think he was one day going to be a good TV guy personality?
Yeah.
So you knew he was made for TV.
Yeah.
And would he say he's going to do it?
Yes, he had already started prepping.
How much before he retired did he
He'd
come?
been started.
Oh, so he's known he's going to be doing that.
Yeah.
So you're not surprised by the success he's having with his podcast and TV and him and Skip and Stephen A, all that stuff?
No, I'm not surprised. I'm shocked at his content. I wouldn't, in a million years, the things that Shannon has said now or did now, I would never believe that Shannon would say or do any of this.
Like what?
Take drinking. And in my entire career, I've never saw Shannon with a drink. Ever. Like it was against the law, right? Because he had some stuff in his family that he didn't want to follow that. And then so I kind of started to watch him, and then we kind of went our own separate ways because I'm like, you're going to take that route. I can't go that route. Never can go that route. And that route is to become so worldly that you become popular because you're talking about ignorance, right? A lot of times, a lot of these gossip conversations that they're having and bringing up all this stuff, I'm not going to do that to nobody. I'm not in the business for that. I'm in life to try to teach people what does it mean to be a better man or get back to the kingdom, And a lot of times, a lot of the guys get in trouble with these podcasts and things, man, because everybody wants the follower, everybody wants to be popular, everybody wants to make money, but that's a tight rope into what you call influence and popularity. Right? The devil has the ability to make you popular. God has the ability to give you influence that when people see you, they see an image of him. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing for me that started to switch with not just Shannon, but just a couple of people. I'm like, wow, you would switch out like that? Really? And I would never, ever. Why? Because of the respect that I have for my mother, my daughters, my granddaughters, life, period. And I think men, given these new platforms, we've overrode what the platform is actually for. The platform is supposed to help somebody find a new direction. We don't help. Everybody just gets on. Everybody's talking now. Everybody got a podcast. Everybody's the new.
That's right.
Coach. Everybody's the new relationship coach. And ain't nobody coaching themselves. You were coaching yourself. When it says power of life and death is found in the tongue, go back and check out a couple of episodes and ask yourself, do you give life or do you give death? And that's why, me personally, I kind of do my own thing, stay in my own lane.
That's right.
And here is Shannon Sharpe's response to that.
I got nothing bad to say. Because a lot of things when
You tolerated. I'm gonna go ahead and say my thing. Whatever transpired, I bite my tongue. I'll be the bigger person. I'll walk away. Hey, you right. Because you know why, Ocho? It's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
You know how I know? Because your boy, you looking at him, he low-hanging fruit. And there are a lot of people taking your shot at your boy.
Come on now.
Y'all can have it. Y'all got it. Y'all got me. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. We're going to be all right, Ocho.
Yeah.
That trivia say we're going to be all right.
Yeah, listen, I could have told you that. I could have told you I've been telling you that.
Yeah.
So
everybody want to pile on. Everybody jump on now. Hey, we got him down, Ocho. We got him down. The best time to, hey, let me get my lick now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody want to get a lick now because when your boy was doing good, even here, a lot of people that have a whole lot to say. Not everybody got something to say.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an admission that he's not doing good?
I don't know, man.
That's what it sounded like. He said when your boy was doing good. So that sounds to me like an admission that he ain't doing good.
Man.
So what do you make of this exchange and what Ray Lewis had to say there about, Shannon Sharpe and that particular kind of direction and all of that good stuff?
It's kind of weird. Ray Lewis keeps his microphone on mute. I don't ever hear him speak. So for him to actually be out here talking on a podcast of all things, where he's literally on the podcast slamming podcasts, and just saying that, hey man, like I ain't for what he's doing. I was a little shocked, to be honest, because I've never heard Ray Lewis ever talk about anybody. So that was a bit of a surprise for me. But his point, to Ray Lewis's point, is that Shannon somewhere, now if he didn't drink before, while he was playing or whatever, and he stayed sober because of family dynamics or whatever, Shannon got drunk off something. Might have been the fame, the attention, or what, somewhere down the line. But when he first got on TV, I thought the guy was spectacular. An absolute wordsmith. Didn't sound like he had CTE at all. It sounded like, he had a whole football career, quick as a whip, still is. So just a fan of him, of when he played and then afterwards, immediately. When he teamed up with Skip and them, that was what it was. I watched it. Then some stuff came about on that show that I started to realize that maybe Shannon's going another route. And this might be low key what Ray Lewis is alluding to, is when he started, tap dancing and cooning and buffooning on the Skip show, wearing do-rags, Black and Miles. This man had a Black and Mile in his mouth on ESPN or Fox or whatever the hell that was on. Cognacs on TV. Hennessy's on TV. With this unk persona. He had man at the gas station persona who plays scratch offs. You know what I'm saying? And drink malt liquor persona. And it's like, why are you behaving like this? I didn't care for that. Now, I don't know what came first, that type of talk or the Kaepernick stuff. But nevertheless, he did it. And at that point, I was like, oh, so he'll do anything for the check. He one of those dudes. And that may not be where Ray Lewis is coming from, but it might be, in the sense that, oh, okay, so you'll do that for a check. So all in all, Shannon has showed me over the years. Then the whole LeBron stuff got out of hand. It's like he really took on that character so much so that he was willing to fight the Memphis Grizzlies over it. So the guy really started to lose himself somewhere in the midst of all of this notoriety and attention. And so, yeah, man, I can see that, you know, Shannon got too big for himself. And this, when I was good, is symbolic of, yeah, this is when things were still under wraps, and the bubble didn't burst of you being too egotistical or too whatever was going on. And now that bubble has burst, and now you're losing millions of dollars. You're not on ESPN anymore. You're losing endorsements. You're not the same guy anymore. And is it from his own doing? It looks like it. So, you know, Ray saying what he said, you know, the irony of it all, him gossiping on things. Now I know about his family's alcohol problems. You know, the irony of Ray Lewis. But hey, man, shout out to the U, because it doesn't stop over here, man. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, man, on Ray Lewis basically calling out Shannon Sharpe, saying that somewhere down the line he took the other side of the road and decided to be this character of himself instead of a real man, basically. What are your thoughts, man?
I think Ray is on to something, and I think it's less about Shannon Sharpe and it's more about this industry of content creation that we have going on, and the individuals who have filled that space and tried to, you know, become successful by you know, entering into that area and trying to proliferate it to the best of their degree. You know, when Ray Lewis talks about, you know, how you living, you want to coach everybody else, but are you coaching yourself? That's a referendum on that's a referendum on the current, you know, economy that is content creators. And it's something that happens when you go from being someone who, you know, wants to contribute via opining on something that you have genuine expertise in, and then you want to transition to being this generalist who just gas bags and gives opinions on anything just because you have a platform and you think that you can. You know, what Ray Lewis did is something that is symptomatic of what a lot of these other individuals do. He became outed for being a hypocrite, as far as I'm concerned. And when you are an opiner and you get outed for being a hypocrite, it's hard to put the genie back in that bottle. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. The problem with, and I'll use relationships as an example, because even Ray talked about how everybody is, you know, everybody wants to have a podcast and give their relationship advice, their marriage advice, right? I've mentioned that because I noticed it. It's like, you know, it's like I can't understand why an individual would take advice from somebody who is giving that brand of content when you find out the types of skeletons that they have in that closet are directly counterintuitive to the kind of advice that they're giving you. Like, you shouldn't listen to their advice. And so one of the issues that I have with a lot of modern dating and relationship content on the internet, I don't care whether it's YouTube, I don't care whether it's Reddit, I don't care whether it's Spotify, I don't care what platform you're using to consume this information. You have to be very conscientious of the kind of content that you're consuming, because if you haven't vetted the messenger, you could be receiving very bad insight from a bad faith actor. And I think what Shannon Sharpe is going through right now, because of the direction that he took in terms of becoming a content creator, is he has now been revealed to have been a bad faith actor. because you can't give relationship advice. You can't be a man, in my opinion, who talks about women and gives men insight on women and relationship advice and marriage advice when it becomes public knowledge that you pay for women on the internet. Like, you can't be that guy anymore. But so the thing that he's dealing with is, whether it's Nightcap or Club Shay Shay, he's routinely on his own platforms talking about women and relationships. And you don't even actually have real women in relationships in your life. You're a transactional guy. You pay for everything. So what is the worth of the stuff that you say whenever you're giving your opinion? It doesn't have a lot of value.
Mhm.
And the problem that I have with not just him, but with the content creator space in general, when it comes to stuff like relationships, marriage, and family, is you have a lot of people who are in these particular seats espousing their wisdom. And for all you know, they're on OnlyFans, or they're DMing Instagram models, or they're trying to take strippers out on dates.
Damn.
They're doing the stuff that they're advising you to not do if you want to find a healthy relationship, yet they are doing it themselves. So what is the value of their insight? Yet they are afforded a platform, and a lot of people listen to what they have to say. So I think where Ray was coming from this was the content creator space in general, to which Shannon Sharpe is one of its agents, is filled with a lot of phony people who shouldn't be listened to. And it's easy for a person who is well spoken and articulate, and who can articulate very well, to espouse their relationship advice. Lo and behold, they're putting themselves in a compromised situation in which, if they don't play their cards right, they're going to have to pay out $20 million to a girl 30 years younger than them who was on OnlyFans, and you just retired her for life because you weren't doing what you should have been doing. But you want to turn around and give advice to people on the internet. And I think what Ray was trying to say was, that's the kind of thing I saw him going down. I saw him going down that road years ago. Given what I know about how he sort of orients his own personal life, to me, it was a self-destructive path. And I think he's just identifying it. But Shannon Sharpe ain't the only one. A lot of these guys are doing this stuff. These people who have all of these subscribers on YouTube because they walk the streets and do street interviews, or they bring these ladies of the evening onto their shows to talk about relationships, as if those are the types of people that should be giving insight on relationships. It doesn't make sense. Yet that's who people are listening to.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It's crazy. You got some of these shows, bro, that bring women on, and the idea is they're schooling or educating men on how to deal with women. Yet these are all women who get DM'd and get flued out and get approached to go on dates by people like Shannon Sharpe. Why is their relationship advice of any substance? And that ain't the only grift. There's financial grifters. There's all kinds of grifts going on. People who say, invest in this, do this, buy this NFT, get this crypto. Meanwhile, they're scrounging because they're one bad investment away from being destitute themselves with their impulsivity. But they're the first ones to be on Twitter or YouTube giving advice on finances. And here you go with all of these subscribers listening to them, commenting in the sections, liking all their posts, DMing them. So for me, what Ray said was what Ray was doing to me. Well, I'll just speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for Ray Lewis. I feel like this was the utilization of Shannon Sharpe as a case study to talk about the grander implications of the content creator space, which at this point has run completely amok. There's a lot of people who are occupying these spaces, grifting to the highest degree, telling you the kind of women you should be looking for, talking to you about red flags, talking to you about when you should propose, talking to you about what you should invest in, talking to you about what you should buy. Meanwhile, they're running around spending money on OnlyFans, DMing sex workers, Instagram models, the like, investing in cryptocurrency and NFTs and all of these other various weird high risk things that if you don't take care with what you're doing, can get you into a lot of trouble. So I think Ray had a point, and hopefully, I don't know. I don't care what Shannon Sharpe does, because what does it matter to me? Only from the standpoint, though, that if he continues to be in position to give advice, and clearly there's people who are willing to listen, it gives people an instance in which to learn the importance of taking inventory on the messenger. You have to take inventory on the people that you're listening to, because a lot of these individuals, if you knew enough about them, you would learn you probably should couch how much insight you take from them.
Hey man, well said, bro. And I speak for myself when it comes to content creation and what's going on the internet, because, well, I kind of divide things up. I'm a bit of a cynic, as we discussed in the last topic, and I evaluate what people have to say. And I would not take, I guess it's a matter of semantics, I'm not taking advice from somebody that I clearly see struggles, or doesn't even have a real relationship, or been in and out of marriage. But at the same time, I would I would take advice about women from Shannon Sharpe, because he deals with a particular type of woman that I don't, and I need to know about that.
But that's my point. What if you don't know about that?
What if I don't know? No. I need to know about those type of women that he interacts with.
But what if you don't know the types of women that he see? Shannon Sharpe is an interesting case because we know about this now.
Well, here's
my point is, what about the insight you're taking from the person to whom you don't know what they got going on?
So you got it. I mean, for instance, Shannon Sharpe is a celebrity. I remember there was something that we was covering, I don't know, a while ago, where he was talking about how, at a date or whatever, this girl was asking him to be paying for this, and that. And then I think you and I discussed that on here, and we was pretty much in the space of, damn, bro, you talking to them IG girls,
right?
That's the only type of female that would flip the conversation to that. So from there, I didn't take advice from him. I didn't think that all women were like this, but from there, I was able to triangulate that he's talking to these IG type women, and women that are like that, you avoid them.
Correct. Right.
I did learn from him. This is another thing too. I'm not taking financial advice from a hobo. I don't even know if that's appropriate now. That's probably a slur towards displaced people at this point. But I'm not taking financial nor stock advice from somebody that's living on the street. But that person that's living on the street can teach me something. So I don't go around, first of all, I don't listen to gas bags, man. I listen to people that, that drop facts, as far as I'm concerned. But from those podcasts, when they was inviting those ladies of the evening in there, I need to know how they think. And if I'm talking to a woman that sounds eerily close to a woman that does get invited on yachts and other weird things, I need to avoid her. So it's not a situation where you're taking these people's stuff. At least I didn't. I don't take anybody's advice as hardcore truth, or, I can rest anything on that. Everybody comes with a grain of salt, especially on the internet. Even with Ray Lewis is saying here, I'm taking what he say with a grain of salt. I'll take what everybody say, unless you're giving me a sports take or something like that, where it's clearly 100% your opinion. Okay, but when you start telling me about life values and stuff like that or whatever, I'm taking that all with a grain of salt, me personally. And it gets weighed up against my own personal scale of things that I've heard from other people. And if I feel like what you're saying is not applicable, then I just avoid you as a person. And so I think what's going on now, everybody doesn't do that. Okay. I can share with you, man, like 10 conspiracy documentaries, bruh. And out of those 10 conspiracy documentaries, that probably equates into one actual documentary with stuff where I can co-sign and go, nah, watch that part, watch that. But you would have to watch all of these to get enough information because there's so much garbage out there. There we go. No, that's a distraction. They're telling you that to tell you this, and then that's important. So look that up. And so it's a lot of that, and I do that with everything. So that's from internet people, that's from whoever, teachers, anybody, you name them, I'm evaluating what they're saying, taking what I can learn from that and applying that to my life. Whether it's, I don't want to go down that road, let me watch more to know which road not to go down. So, to each their own. But of course, masses don't do that. A lot of people, they just take stuff on for face value.
That is correct.
You know what I'm saying? They read the Bible and they really think Jonah was in the well for 3 days. There's people that do that, and so for people that do that, yeah, I mean, it is dangerous. But hey, man, if you're struggling with that, you're struggling with a lot more in life, and I feel sorry. So take this from somebody that even on this own show, where I'll tell you my own personal shortcomings, where I may talk from a grandstand type of situation sometimes, but I'm also talking to myself, especially that sports topic. All right, because honestly, I can't help but to see Ray Lewis and go, "Hey, former Hurricane, baby, what I got to say about that? Hall of Famer, baby." So I mean, so at the same time, and this is just for anybody, take what comes out on the internet. From whatever, even from us. Of course, we've already told you guys we don't run a cult here. But take our stuff, man, and take that with a grain of salt. Apply it to your life. If I say some stuff that you don't necessarily agree with, that don't mean I'm wrong, and it doesn't mean I'm right either. But hey, consider it, weigh it up against your own stuff, and see what you can get out of that. So me personally, I got zero value watching Shannon Sharpe behave like a person hanging out at the gas station. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what the hell that was about. At first, the first time he did it, I was like, okay, whatever. But when it became like a running thing, I was like, oh, so you're here to A, advertise Black and Mild, B, advertise Hennessy. Because you can't take no name brand stuff on Fox and just parade it around unless there's backing behind that. Somebody has to pay for that. And that was an ad for African Americans that watch Shannon Sharpe and look up to Shannon Sharpe to buy Black and Milds and Hennessy. And nobody can convince me otherwise. And so when I saw that he would do something like that on a syndicated broadcast TV show or whatever, I was like, okay, well, clearly this guy do anything. And of course, the slobbing on LeBron stuff it had to go. But I say all that stuff to say is I take what everybody said with a grain of salt. Hopefully you guys out there too. But I believe if you guys are conscious approachians, you don't believe a damn word I'm saying anyway. So right on to you guys, man, for always being sure that you're questioning everything that comes to your ears. So hey man, I agree with Sir Ray Lewis here, man. I feel like Shannon Sharpe took a left turn somewhere, and the chickens have been coming home to roost this whole year. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is fine, but I think you have been living in your own skin for your entire life. Of course, most people don't do what you're doing. Most people don't go through those mental steps to filter out things that are meaningful and get rid of everything else. When a guy is watching Fresh and Fit, for example, and I try to avoid mentioning them by name, but when a young man is watching Fresh and Fit and he is seeing those women on that show, what he is internalizing is, I need to figure out how they think because those are the women that I want. So how can I get those women? They're not saying I want to avoid those women. They're engaging in the opposite mental steps that you engage in. And I think that's the majority of people. I think the majority of people do that. So when the majority of people are listening to any sort of insight from content creators, I think most of them are saying they know what they're talking about. So I need to figure out how to replicate that formula.
That's dangerous.
I think that's what most people do. So that's why it's important for a messenger to be vetted, because a lot of people in the content creator space are grifting the hell out of us. So the only way for you to not be victimized by the grift is to be able to take tangible, practical aspects of what it is that they do, sort of extrapolate that, and then let everything else fall by the wayside. But I think that when the majority of us are watching these programs, it's like, what's being highlighted is the kinds of investments that the experts are doing, the kinds of women who the guys who are successful with women are talking to, the kinds of marriages that guys who are in good marriages are in. So you psychosomatically connect those dots and say, I need to do that same thing when you're consuming that kind of content. And that's the danger inherent in that. So I do think that, practically speaking, what you're saying makes sense. I'm just cynical enough. That's a running theme for tonight's show. I'm cynical enough to not believe that enough people go through those steps to ensure that they are protecting themselves against harmful information.
That's fair. Trust me, I run into those people every day who don't have that filter. So. Yeah, I know it's not a common thing, man, but you can learn a lot from every single person on this planet. And so if you're just paying attention and listening to the right lessons, anybody can teach you something. So that's how I look at things. But yeah, for sure, I don't watch dangerous rhetoric on repeat because that doesn't serve me at all. But I'll definitely dabble with some stuff where I know and feel like somebody's grifting, just to get a sense of what's going on. But hey, man, you bring up a good point, bro. People need to think for themselves, as you like to say.
Yeah. And to answer your question from earlier, officially, hobo is indeed a slur.
Oh, my bad. Hey, man, my bad. I did not mean to say that. So, damn, bro. Something told me not to say that too.
Don't
man.
worry, just issue an apology and say you're going to therapy.
Yeah, I really didn't mean that, guys. I'm serious, bro. I didn't mean that, fam. All right, so shout out to my displaced people, man. Damn. I did not mean it like that.
Oh, why am I not surprised? And on to the U.S. Open faux pas heard around the world. So this was an interesting viral moment during the U.S. Open in which a businessman from Poland robbed a young boy of his moment. I'm pretty sure people know this already, but during tennis matches, sometimes the winner of the match will use their racket to knock tennis balls into the crowd, and they'll engage with fans. And so there was one particular tennis star who was attempting to give his hat to a young fan in the crowd. And this Polish businessman kind of got into the way of it and denied the young boy the hat from the pro tennis player. And it's created a viral backlashing that he has addressed since then, apologizing and saying that he's going to try to make it right and all of this good stuff. So this says U.S. Open, Polish businessman who stole kid's hat says he made a grave mistake. The U.S. Open has been rife with storylines this year, and one in particular that's been making a lot of headlines involves a Polish businessman who swiped a hat from a child. On Thursday, August 28th, Polish tennis star Camille, I'm not going to try to say the last name.
Yeah, fuck that.
Polish tennis star Camille greeted fans and signed autographs after defeating the number 9 seed Karen, because these are men, right? These are male tennis players.
Yeah.
When Camille removed his hat to hand it to a young boy in the stands, a man standing next to the child grabbed the hat and stuffed it into a nearby woman's bag. After it was confirmed, the man in question was Polish businessman Piotr Petrie, the CEO of paving company Drogbrook. The millionaire faced a sea of backlash. The Polish businessman has now issued an apology explaining that he made a grave mistake and thought the tennis star was giving him the hat after his sons had asked for autographs earlier in the day. I would like to offer my sincere apology to the injured boy, his family, all the fans, and the player himself. I made a grave mistake in the midst of the excitement and celebration after my victory. I was convinced the tennis player was handing his cap to me for my sons who had previously asked for autographs. This mistaken belief caused me to instinctively reach out. Today, I know that I did something that seemed like deliberately taking a souvenir from a child. It wasn't my intention, but that doesn't change the fact that I hurt the boy and disappointed the fans. The cap was given to the boy and an apology to the family. I hope that I have at least partially repaired the harm caused. Reports following the original news claim that the Polish businessman initially defended his actions, allegedly stating the recent incident at the tennis match has caused a disproportionate online uproar. It's all about the famous hat, of course. Yes, I took it. Yes, I did it quickly, but as I've always said, life is first come, first served. In the end, chin up, hats off, less venom, more sportsmanship. However, in Polish businessman's latest Facebook statement, he claimed these reports are not true. I also want to make it clear neither I, my wife, nor my sons commented on this situation on social media or on any website. We did not use the services of any law firm in its regard. All alleged statements appearing online are not ours. He added that he and his wife have been involved in helping children and young athletes for years, but that the U.S. Open incident has shown him that one moment of inattention can undo years of work and support. This is a painful but necessary lesson in humility. Therefore, I will be even more actively involved in initiatives supporting children and young people and in actions against violence and hate. Whoa. I believe that only through actions can I rebuild lost trust. I apologize again to everyone I have disappointed. After the hat snatching incident, the tennis star sought out the child to make things right. All right, so there you go, man. So this Polish businessman said that he apologized and he gave the hat to the boy and he's going to continue his endeavors. And he also said that any comments appearing to come from me were in fact false. I didn't say any of that stuff. So what do you make of this situation? You think all is now right because he gave the hat back?
I mean, eventually over time, yeah. I think this would just get swept up under the rug. It caused a bit of an uproar for the last few days or so. And, I saw videos where people were talking about this. And the take of people finding out about this, then going to his actual business page and just bombing his company with bad reviews. This guy was going to lose it all. So he had to come out once the internet got their hands on this. And, I think this is one of those situations, man, where the internet got it right again. Because with this whole cancel culture and doxing people now and all this other stuff that goes on, there are situations where it's low-key valid, man. And in this situation here, where I thought we had the clip for this one, but in the
is there a clip?
Nah, it's not.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see one in the article, at least.
Yeah.
But with this situation where the guy, to me, it's pretty clear that it was going to the kid and the guy snatched it. To me, it was pretty clear. And to me, this was pretty clear of some millionaire arsehole who gets everything his way, and to hell with this little kid. I can buy 5 of them. Yeah, that's how this guy rolls. And so nowadays, the way people are turned up on these CEOs and not really giving a damn about what they got going on, because they are walking embodiments of the haves and have-nots. And for this CEO to take a hat like this at a situation because that kid had to be pretty damn privileged his damn self to be having access to seats like that. But I digress. The visuals of this fat cat CEO snatching the hat from the kid, it's no different than something that would be in Scrooge or something like that, where there's some kid that's walking down the street with a crutch, and and here comes Scrooge, slapping the crutch out the kid's hand because it's got some gold tip at the bottom or whatever. And it's like, to hell with this kid, to hell with this disability. I want this piece of gold here. And it's been a lot. I'm sure these guys do this type of stuff a lot, not so much directly, but if there is a situation where there's like, hey man, there's a house full of orphans over here, and they've been here for the last 50 years, but in order for us to build this strip mall, it's like, we'll displace those bastards. So that kind of CEO persona that people would have in the back of their minds, he embodied it. So when people had an opportunity to do their own form of internet vigilante justice, they took it upon themselves to make this guy persona non grata. And so with that, he had to come back and give an apology, because he can cap all he wants. That first statement he said, "I saw it, I took it." I don't know who's gonna go out here and catfish to be this man, because nobody gives a damn who you are. But so for him to say, somebody made that up, I'm not buying that. I'm pretty sure that's how you felt. I'm pretty sure that's how you feel. You got to the millions. It's eat or be eaten out here. That kid was too slow or not strong enough. So that's mine's now. So I highly doubt he learned anything outside of he's got to be more careful in public. But what are your thoughts, man, on the internet giving this CEO some backlash for apparently stealing a hat from some little kid? What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, so I did find something. So let's pull this up. So real quick, we'll pull this up and show it just for context purposes. So this is like the initial incident.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just housed it.
Yeah, let me run it back because it happened real fast.
Yeah, he snatched the hell out of that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, not fast enough, kid.
You got to be quicker than that. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think it's, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he was being impersonated, but I don't think it matters. To me, whether he was impersonated for that or not is irrelevant, because I think from the video we can clearly see him standing right next to the boy.
Right.
And I think it is clear and obvious, if it's clear and obvious to us via watching the video, that the tennis player meant to give the hat to the boy. I'm pretty sure it was clear and obvious in the moment on his part, standing right there next to him, that the intention from the tennis player was to give the hat to the boy.
Correct.
So what he did on purpose.
Yes.
But then but once the backlash came, he pivoted and decided to try to make things right. So he obviously didn't foresee the swift retribution that was going to be coming his way, given what he did. And I do think that type of retribution does get amped up in this day and age, because there is a heightened microscope on fat cats, CEOs, millionaires. People are feeling it nowadays, and people are on the lookout for the rich person, the CEO who does people dirty, because it's an instant where's the beef type atmosphere, given the harsh economic disparities that we are currently in the midst of experiencing in real time. And so, there is a prevailing wisdom that it's individuals like him who are exacerbating that dynamic that is causing a lot of pain and harm to people. And so one of the ways that you can get your get back from that is to expose these types of situations to bring them down a notch or two. And honestly, I can't say that I have a particular problem with that, because in a lot of instances, these individuals are exacerbating a lot of dynamics that are doing harm to people. So I can't really say that I am too snuffed or upset about that. I don't, whether he learned a lesson or not, to me is inconsequential. I'm just glad that the kid got a chance to, be around the tennis player, and that he did get the hat back, because it was owed to him. But I do believe that he knew what he was doing, and he did it anyway, because I do agree with you that there's an aspect of kill or be killed, that there's a certain type of kill or be killed mentality that individuals in his position have to believe in order to get to where they are. And you have to exploit that, even at the expense of children, if you believe that that's what you have to do in order to get your way.
100%.
So he doesn't care about kids or any of that kind of stuff. If he has to run over, proverbially speaking, not literally, but if he has to run over a kid in order to get what he needs to get, he'll do it.
100%.
Because that's what these individuals do, is exploit people. So I get the internet's backlash, because that's what the internet is responding to. The mentality on the part of these individuals who are exacerbating a lot of environmental circumstances that are causing a degradatious effect to people. So that's what people are talking about. It ain't about him directly. It's about people like him and what that kind of behavior symbolizes. So I get the internet's frustration with that, and I'm glad they did it, because he deserved it.
Yeah, there's a few dynamics here that should show you how the archetype of this situation is what people care about versus the actual players involved. It's flipping men's tennis that this happened at. A men's tennis player that most Americans don't even know. Then there's some Polish CEO, which everybody doesn't know. Okay. But yet it's going viral in America because of what this represents, what this story represents. And as you mentioned, man, yeah, bro, people have had enough of these guys, and they have their way when it comes to legislation and other things. A lot of things are tilted in these guys' favor, which allows them to continuously get fatter when everybody else is struggling. So when they are taking it to the streets with it and actually stealing a hat, I mean, it's literally taking candy from a baby. It's like, come on, bro. And then the internet decided to ruin them. So this guy will disappear into relative, obscurity again, because nobody knows who the hell he is. So the internet's had their time with it, but this faux pas was big enough to startle investors, to startle other people around him that's tied to his company and tied to his name and brand, for him to come out and issue an apology. So he felt something from doing that. So whether it was, long term or something like that, I don't know. But I can guarantee you this: if it didn't go viral, he wasn't going to apologize.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he had to get humbled in some capacity, and shouts out to the tennis player for making right on it and going back to the kid and also hooking up with the kid, because the tennis player also got up with the kid after all of this stuff. So yeah, man, way to make that right. But overall, I'm not for internet justice for the most part. But when you're striking all the damn time, you're gonna end up striking something that I agree with. And in this context, I do agree with this guy's somewhat cancellation, but just heating up his seat enough for him to get up and make a bigger fool of himself. I think that was good enough for me. So
yeah, the scrutiny on people in his position right now is at an unprecedented high. This is, I'm reminded of the Luigi kid who unalive the United Healthcare CEO. And you have people who were championing this guy for doing this. And that comes from this angst that a lot of people feel about how they're being squeezed, and their belief that part of the reason why we are being so squeezed is because individuals in those positions are figuring out different machinations to employ the squeeze so that they can continue to reap a lot of the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where a lot of that comes from. That's the only way to explain why there's people who felt like that kid was just in unaliving that guy
Mm-hmm.
the way that he did. Because outside of that particular rationale, there's nothing to really celebrate in that situation. Like that was a cold-blooded situation. That was a cold-blooded type deal.
Mm-hmm.
But there's people who are looking at that and acting like this kid did something righteous on behalf of the people, because people are frustrated with the squeeze. And so even if it's something as it doesn't have to rise to the level of people dying necessarily. It can be something as simple as at the US Open, you did something that was clear and obvious. You're standing right next to this boy. There's no way to explain yourself out of you not knowing that that hat was meant for him. If you, it's common sense. If you didn't know that the hat was meant for him, you wouldn't have snatched it away so quickly.
Exactly.
The reason why you snatched it away so quickly is because you knew that if you didn't get to it fast enough, the boy was going to take it. So, there's no way to explain yourself around that. And the backlash to me was justified, but I do think it rose to the occasion that it did because of the ire and the magnifying glass and the magnifying scope that is currently placed upon individuals in his position. There's a lot of angst and anxiety and just trepidation and fear that a lot of people are feeling out here in these streets, and that fear is directly tethered to the belief that these fat cats and CEOs and wealthy people are actively a part of putting the squeeze on people in various ways. So I don't blame people because the squeeze is real. It is in effect. I don't knock people for reacting in that way. Like you, I do believe that this was an instance of internet vigilante justice that was warranted. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, shout out to the internet for getting this one right, man. I'll get on you guys other times, but this one, you got my cosign. So shout out to the internet.
Yeah. Shouts out to the internet indeed. And now we are going to talk about someone that I personally am very fond of. Going back to my middle school and high school days, is the R&B singer Maya, who is 45 years old. It's crazy to think that she has hit that phase in her life. But she's being talked about on the internet because she joined Melissa Ford on her podcast to talk about her own worldview on certain personal things going on in her life. And one of those things that she talked about was marriage and children. And she expressed the fact that she has never desired to be married or have children, primarily because of what she went through. So this says, Maya says she never desired marriage or children, not with what I've been through. Maya says she never had a desire for marriage and children. In a conversation with Melissa Ford for the Hot and Bothered podcast, the singer shared why marriage and children have never been a driving force in her life. It's not even my focus, and it never has been, the 45-year-old told Ford near the 24-minute mark in the video linked above, noting how witnessing her parents' divorce and other experiences shaped her perspective from a young age. I've always thought a little different. The white wedding dress, I was very fearful of. I was very fearful of those things. So I looked elsewhere and probably escaped too much in my work and keep going. But also, I think being independent has forced me to show up for myself and obviously family, friends, and this operation because I have a mission and I have a vision, but it requires me to be gone. And that's also very, very much fear-filled. Knowing that if I have to be gone 95% of the time and my work calls for me to travel, that must be intimidating. And I also can't show up properly for my significant other. But I'm also now spiritually aligned so much where I know that I'm surrounded by love everywhere I go, right? Maya insisted she is not seeking and that love will be granted to me in divine time. I'm not worried about it because my life is full of love and it comes in so many different forms, not just one person. So I've had to recalibrate my brain and not, I think, govern life off of this fantasy or illusion that we've all been indoctrinated by or taught by. I'm very happy with myself, but that also required me to strip a lot of things that are expected of me on a specific timeline for the society we grew up in to have. I'm talking about marriage, I'm talking about kids, and if you don't have it, something's wrong with you, right? But did I desire it? No, not with what I've witnessed and not with what I've been through. Still, the My Love Is Like Will Singer remains open to the possibility, even if it hasn't been a priority. Not to say it's not possible and I'm not open to it, I'm open to all things, but right now I'm on a specific assignment. That's all. Just because it's not on your timeline that you wish for or what is expected of, and that goes for men too. I think everyone is an individual and we lead different lives. I don't think everyone's life is supposed to be congruent to each other. Live your life to the fullest and whatever and however that looks, it's not supposed to look the same, she concluded. Maya threw a wedding ceremony for herself in early 2020, signing the Instagram post with officially Mrs. Lansky in the caption. She has previously discussed her multi-year celibacy journey in an effort to improve her mental health.
Oh, brother.
So what do you take? What do you take from Maya's explanation there as to why she has never desired marriage or kids?
She lost me, man. She lost me with all of that. I get. So I was with her with the whole, growing up and seeing marriage or see how that played out or whatever. Then her getting into a career, because women get lost in their career. And she has a different type of career with her being a celebrity and all this other stuff. And, that'd be wild business if somebody was out there and they wanted their wife to be loyal and stuff like that. But she works in an industry full of men and constantly on the road. So that could cause issues. So I get all of that stuff. The part where she lost me was when she married herself. Because she doesn't want to get married. So all that stuff she was telling me earlier was cap. Because nobody's going to listen, I know people that don't want to get married. Okay. Myself included. All right. And one thing you're not going to see me do is have some weird ass self ceremony because I'm marrying myself because I love myself so much. You're weird, bro. You want to get married. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that was some cappery there. And what was the last thing that article said? Because it was something right up underneath the picture. There was something else she said. Oh, the celibacy thing. Come on, man. Come on, man. Stop the lies. Stop the lies. So this is what I have gathered from this. I don't know her. Some parts of me wish I knew her, right? But I don't know her. And what this sound like to me is a woman that's for the streets. This is typical street talk, man. All right. I've heard variations of this conversation when I used to work at Walmart. Okay. So you don't have to be a celebrity singer to usher out, cap like this. You can be an everyday woman and it's the same story. So she can hide herself behind her career and all these other things, but none of that to me hides, and they put all these flowery stuff around it. I'm on a mission. On a mission for what? So all of this and this and that, and all of those are just rosy words to say that I'm difficult. I've been in relationships before, and men couldn't deal with how I roll. Then the celibacy thing tells me that she was giving up box to people that she should not have given up box to, which is a very common theme out here in these streets. And so what ends up happening is women have so much regret for just letting this guy slide, letting that guy slide, to the point where they feel like they have to be celibate, to do some refresh, restart. No, you got to do that because of what your decisions were. So I don't think it's beyond me to make it an assumption to say that she was in the streets. And it sounds like street behavior. And she's talking to a street woman and Melissa Ford. I say all that stuff to say I'm a little shocked, because Maya gives off this girl next door, sweetheart persona. But what she just told me was, she got Waffle House persona. And that's okay, man. Like, it's all good. But I'm not buying the Capri. And I think she's single for a reason. And it may not be the reason she's telling us. But what are your thoughts, man, on Maya saying that she's not all about the marriage and family stuff? She's just doing her. And if it comes, it comes, whatever the hell that means. What are your thoughts, man?
I agree with you. Other forms of flowery language to make it sound noble is stuff like, independence.
Yeah.
There's the part where she said, but I also think being independent has forced me to show up for myself and obviously family, friends, and this operation, because I have a mission and I have a vision, but it requires me to be gone. And that's also very, very much fear-filled. I don't understand. I don't understand where this thing came from, where being married or being in a relationship by default means that you are stripped of your independence.
Correct.
That is a sleight of hand fallacy that has come about within the last, I would say, 20 years or so, to convince an entire population of women to forsake lifelong companionship in lieu of independence, because they think that that's the only thing that they can do to discover who they really are. I think that that's bogus. That's just to add to your point about flowery language. But otherwise, though, I hear where you're coming from. A lot of this. Now, I'm not going to take anything away from witnessing your parents getting divorced. I don't come from a divorced household. I'm not a child of divorce. So, from what I've seen, that can have a profound impact on a person's perception of the viability of marriage. So, I'm not going to take that away from her. But she's 45 years old. I kind of think her reluctance to be married is due to the fact that she had a lot of negative experiences with the wrong men. And so she's gotten jaded enough to believe that marriage is an unrealistic prospect in general. That's what I think. That's what I think. Personally, I think that now that kind of directly ties into your theory about her being for the streets. Because if you've had one too many experiences with one too many of the wrong men, after a while, you can come to believe that marriage is not for you and that you don't desire it. But I think at a certain point in her youth, when she was a bit more impressionable and a bit more fresh and right, she would have been far more open to the idea. But I think after bad relationship after bad relationship after bad relationship, bad experience after bad experience after bad experience, of course you get jaded enough to believe that you don't want to get married. So I think that this is once again, this is a referendum on people's choices. I believe that you don't have the same cynical, pessimistic view on relationships and marriage if you have more positive experiences. I think that kind of cynicism comes from an accumulation of undesirable outcomes and bad experiences. So if you have enough of those undesirable experiences, you will come to believe that this is the nature of this thing. But you know that in totality that isn't true, because you can juxtapose that to the litany of other people who appear to be happy in the very same situations that you think you wouldn't, that you think aren't for you. So it's not that entirely speaking, marriage and kids isn't good. I think at this point, because of what has gone through, it's probably just not for her anymore, because she's just develop this hardened exterior due to her experiences. But you know what I'm saying? It's a referendum on people's choices. I firmly believe that. And I think if people, when they haven't gotten to that point, can take inventory on how to make better choices, you can get a different outcome, which can cause you in the long run to have a different outlook. But if you can't get out of your own way and you continue to make the same poor, self destructive choices, then you end up 45, 50 years old saying it's not for you. When the reason it's not for you is because of the bad choices that you were making, when it otherwise could have been for you. So, that's just my 2 cents on that, because I hear people talking like that all the time. It's easy to say it's not for you when you're 45, 50 plus. I don't think you were thinking that when you were 20, 21, 24. I think after a while, because you kept having so many bad and negative experiences, you came to develop that myopic worldview of concepts like marriage and kids. But that's what we got going on in these streets. In addition to being for the streets, people don't know how to make the right choices. And I think that those are two correlated concepts. I think that there is a correlation between an individual who has a propensity for being in the streets and somebody who says something is or is not for them. I think that those two behavioral sets are correlated and they tend to be in the same person. So if you can learn to make better choices, you can get a different outcome. But if you can't learn how to make better choices, then yeah, after a while, you will come to develop that kind of ideal for yourself in which you just completely believe that something never was for you. But trust me, at a certain point, it was for you. It just ceased to be so a long time ago because you never learned the skill of making better decisions.
Yeah, and I would argue it's still there. It's still a part of her that feels like she does deserve that. Either what marriage is, directly as in being married, or just having like a lifelong partner or somebody that loves her, take care of her, and all that good stuff. She wants that, man. And at least that's what it sounds like to me through her conversation there. It sounds like a longing for that, and she sounds lonely. And so I don't think she wants to be lonely. So I think this is a situation of one of those kind of backhanded cry for help things of, hey man, I don't want to live like this. There's all kinds of ways that one can self cope with that, and making excuses for this and making excuses for that. And I'm with you too, man. Growing up in a divorced household can really get to somebody's brain. You know what I'm saying? Because there's nothing like seeing those confrontations up close and going, to hell with this. When I get older, I'm not dealing with half of this. All right. So I can completely understand that. But so I'm pretty sure I know that has some sprinkling effect with her life decisions when it comes to mate selection, when it comes to how she's going to go about dating, how she's going to go about this and that. So it definitely had its impact. But this part of her that wants to marry herself, I'm not going to let that go. Because what that's telling me is you do want to get married. And this I'm marrying myself thing is some backhanded way of, I feel like Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, some backhand way of saying that, if I love myself, I can actually get the love that I deserve type stuff. That's the part about it. To go, man, she's kind of out there with it. So yeah, I didn't really, I took my as like I said, calm, quiet, out the way. I figured she would have had a man consistently splacking. She probably do got a dude consistently splacking. Probably a couple of guys that are consistent splackers. And I'm gonna be honest, man. She might be a bit of a player herself. Who knows? But this ties into that Neo conversation that we be having, and people living differently and having different ways of going about love. Because even her saying that, her being out and being not at home or just being on the road because that's what she got to do. If she has some understanding dudes at the crib, dudes plural, then she wouldn't have a problem. And it's a to each their own thing, man. There's some guys that's into sharing with other men like that, and those people can have their woman and live their life like that. And that's my point, is that shouldn't be ruled off the table for people that want to get out like that, but in this monogamous type of world, man, it might be a little too much for her. And she is Maya, for Pete's sake. And when she goes somewhere and she want to take herself for a spin, she might want to do that. And is she not entitled to love and marriage because of that? Who knows? So, yeah, there is a status quo, because I think also in the article it mentioned that there's a status quo way that marriage has to go about, and she probably ain't about that. She probably lives a different kind of way. I mean, she is a celebrity. So, and I would argue she's probably a handful for one man to handle.
I think she's a handful because I think it all derives from her experiences over time. I agree with you, but I think that if she is a handful, it's due to a hardened exterior that she has coated around herself due to the many experiences that she has had throughout her life.
Yeah, I agree.
And so it's created a situation in which she feels like, out of necessity to protect herself, she has to be a handful.
Yeah.
But I just don't think. I think that we are all a microcosm of our life's choices. Like none of this is just by nature. None of us see the world. None of us see the world in the way that we do, because it's like a genetic predisposition. We are the results of our choices and life experiences, and she's no different. So I kind of feel like the way that she looks at marriage and kids is due to a lot of those previous situations and how they have come to formulate and inform her on how things should be. Because this isn't an isolated incident. There are a lot of people who believe in the notion of independence and being there for friends and family and caring for themselves and undergoing self-discovery journeys and all this good stuff, yet they don't have the same myopic worldview when it comes to children and when it comes to marriage and kids. So I think distinctly the reason why she harbors those kinds of feelings is because of whatever it is that she may have experienced, which caused her to come to the realization that that's not necessarily something that she wants for herself. But what I give her credit for is she does know who she is. I think she knows that marriage ain't. I agree with you. I think that there's a part of her who does long for all of the things that come along with that kind of setup, even if there is no official marriage contract. But I also think that she knows she's perhaps incapable of attaining it because she can't get out of her own way, and she'll still make the same decisions.
Yeah, man, that's great.
So above all else, whether an individual, the best thing isn't for people to try to want to be married. The best thing is for people to know who they are and to act accordingly. So if she knows that because of whatever extenuating circumstance, marriage isn't for her, and so she's going to abstain from that, no pun intended, then I'm fine with that. And I'm also fine with people who know that marriage is for them, and so they opt into it because they know that they're built for it in that way. I'm also for that as well. What I'm not for is people who say I'm built for this when they're not, and they try it anyway, or vice versa. That's what I'm not for. And just to kind of set the record, I don't know, just to kind of put it out there, because you mentioned something about the celibacy thing. According to what I have been finding, she remains celibate. So I'm just putting that out there. Apparently this is 7 years.
Damn.
Well, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, 7 years. Yeah.
I can't go for that. Sorry, Maya. That's
what the internet is saying, bro. I'm just letting you know what AI Google is telling me.
All right, I don't know what that's about, but I can't buy that. 7 years is pretty strong. So who knows, man? But hey, shout out to Maya, man. You know what I'm saying? Just always she always gives off a pleasant vibe, man. So shouts out to her, man. And her 7 years of not giving up the box. Apparently, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah.
Does celibacy include the mouth as well, or how's that
I
work?
think it's all sexual activity.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Now, what I don't know is, well, let me take that back. I think that it's, and I could be wrong, but I think that it's with other people because I don't know the statute of limitations on celibacy when it comes to self-love. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't think that's a thing. I'm pretty sure there is some type of rules in some Mormon community, but nah, man. I think that, listen, man, these celibacy people, stop their. I don't want to hear it, man. Y'all doing something, bro. But hey, man, shouts out to Maya though, man.
yeah, I love. Yeah, Maya will always have a special place in my heart, man. She always will.
The streets married to you, Maya. That's all that matters.
Now we have a report that Disney is trying to figure out creative ways to appeal to Gen Z. So apparently, Disney, in the midst of losing a lot of market share with its creative endeavors in recent years, is trying to figure out how to recapture the Gen Z audience because metrics show Gen Z, they ain't going to the movies, they ain't watching stuff, they're not really engaging with the content. So Disney wants to figure out ways to recapture Gen Z to get them back into the movie theaters. So let me pull this up. As the Mickey Mouse company is trying to figure out how to bring Gen Z back into the movie theaters. So this says Disney's Boy Trouble. Studio seeks original IP to win back Gen Z men amid Marvel Lucasfilm struggles. Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty aren't the only ones looking for a prince. Leadership at Walt Disney Studios has been pressing Hollywood creators in recent months. Multiple sources tell Variety for movies that will bring young men back to the brand in a meaningful way. Young men is defined here by sources as age 13 to 28, aka Gen Z. First, every film studio is looking for better ways to convert young audiences into habitual moviegoers. Numerous studies show that Gen Z men in particular are a lonely, gaming obsessed group who were hampered in their formative years by COVID-19 lockdowns, not the easiest segment to grasp. But what's surprising producers, writers, and other partners in the larger industry is that Disney has been calling for original concepts to lure the demo back to the movies. This is the same Disney whose multi-billion-dollar content engines, Marvel and Lucasfilm, have sated men of all ages over almost 2 decades since the company acquired them. The sources say Disney has been seeking new IP and pitches such as splashy global adventures and treasure hunts, as well as seasonal fare-like films for the Hollywood Halloween corridor. The calls come as the Star Wars machine struggles to produce any film project, and the superhero genre sheds audiences by the minute. While the two insiders say the mandate to recruit young males goes as high as the C-suite, the task primarily has fallen on David Greenbaum, the former Searchlight Pictures co-head brought on in 2024 to run Disney's live action film business. That label has been sorely lacking in guy-leaning fare, like the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, for nearly 10 years. Oh, we got to add here. Studio insiders say the property is in active development, though not in its last reported iteration involving Margot Robbie. I think they're speaking of Pirates of the Caribbean there. To say nothing of the lackluster attempt to reboot and hand off Indiana Jones in 2023, which earned $383 million worldwide on a $300 million budget before marketing costs. A Disney source says that moviegoers for Gen Z men are part of an overall strategy across all labels, but no more urgent than any other quadrant. So that's pretty much the gist of this. Built-in interest is not nearly as guaranteed for such an audience, which propelled Warner Brothers, a Minecraft movie, to nearly $1 billion haul. That was a game Gen Z played as very small kids, not to mention the euphoric viral moments it created for young men filming key moments inside multiplexes and sharing them on platforms like TikTok. See also Universal Pictures' Gentle Minions trend in 2022 when Gen Z bros packed theaters in suits and ties for Minions: The Rise of Gru. We actually talked about the Minecraft movie here on this channel a while back. So that's pretty much the gist of it. So Disney apparently is going the route of trying to develop original stories and new IPs because they think that that's going to be something that can help bring Gen Z audiences back to movie theaters to watch their movies. I think that this is bogus, but the floor is yours. Do you think that that's a sound strategy?
I mean, I do feel as though they do need original IPs. I do feel as though they need to make something where a young man can watch it and feel as though they're the main character themselves. But I'm with you in terms of feeling as though that this is a lot more lip service than anything. They're going to do it, but it's going to be not seasoned well, and they're just gonna provide it. Now, the level of virality that Minecraft thing, if they're looking to duplicate that, they're going to be hard pressed. Minecraft that took years of mixtape after mixtape grind that they did before they dropped that movie. So for you to just come out with an original IP yesterday and try to galvanize some level of care from the masses, you're gonna have to put that in the incubator and let that grow for some years so it can actually have that level of buzz and staying power. But I'll tell you like this, man. What Disney has done historically is they have ruined everything that I grew up enjoying. I forgot what the fallout for Gargoyles was, but I think when I heard it later on as an adult, I was like, that's bogus, man. Like, Gargoyles was fire, and they just got rid of it. And what they did with Marvel is atrocious. I was doing a binge watch thing where I was watching like Marvel movies and, trying to catch myself up to the stuff that was coming out. I believe that was like 2018-ish. And I'm sitting there binge watching all the old movies. And, I thought the movies would get better the closer I got to the year that I was in. But the movies were getting progressively worse. Plot was getting more and more lost. It just became these episodes and not movies. And so nothing had real stand power. Nothing had real hitting power. It wasn't the Marvel that I grew up loving. So I immediately became disinterested. So all that in-game stuff, I ain't see none of that stuff. I don't know how any of that stuff go. I mean, I hear about Thanos. I hear about this and that, but I ain't with none of that. The only one I did watch, though, was the X-Men with Apocalypse, because I love Apocalypse. I wanted to see if they did that justice.
They did.
And
That was terrible.
It wasn't. Apocalypse is so badass. And he had some one-liners in there that I enjoyed. But overall, as a movie, it wasn't good at all. And I was never a Star Wars guy. I love the mythology behind Star Wars, though. But I was never a Star Wars guy. But everybody that I know that's a Star Wars guy has been irate over the past decade or so of what the product has turned into. So if Disney gets their slimy hands on anything, they're going to turn it out and make it the worst version of itself. So I think this is all lip service. I do think they're desperate to get the mind's eye of Gen Z. I do believe that is a goal of theirs. I do believe they will come out with an original IP in order to accomplish that, because what it comes with this viewership and money is their minds. and they need to be able to control it as far as I'm concerned. And by them not having Gen Z pay attention to them, they need to keep the next generation paying attention to them and their brand, and they're losing them. So I do believe that this is a desperate attempt, but this is coming from people who have been out of touch with reality for the longest. I don't think they'll be able to pull it off, to be honest. So, because somehow, some way, they're gonna fit some of that new age bogus stuff in there anyway. This is not going to be 100% for the boys. I think they're still going to have some cap in there. But what are your thoughts, man, of Disney, taking a step back, I guess, from their original plans and saying, you know what, we need to focus on the young men in Gen Z. What are your thoughts, bro?
First, I want to correct the record real quick, because if there's anybody who follows the Marvel stuff, they'll roast you in the comment sections, because you mentioned Endgame and then the Apocalypse movie. The X-Men movies were a Fox property, so they had nothing to do with the Thanos stuff. They were in two different. It was the X-Men movies, in my opinion, with the exception of Days of Future Past, and the only ones that I personally like were Days of Future Past and the second one, X2. The rest of them were largely forgettable to me. I know a lot of people like First Class, but I just like two of them, Days of Future Past and the second one. But those are just unrelated to the MCU, the Thanos Infinity Stones. They're separate. Now they're the same because Disney buys everything. But at the time back then, they were completely separate. So one didn't have anything to do with the other. But in terms of quality of movie, you're absolutely correct. In terms of quality of movie, that the MCU movies have not been able to recreate the peak of 2018, 2019. It's all been downhill since then. I agree that original IPs are the way to go, not just for Disney, but for everybody. Like every movie studio needs to reprioritize original stories and original IPs. Part of the alienation of the movie-going audience, in my opinion, is a retreading of old material over and over and over again. I think people are just overseeing the same movie over and over and over again. That's part of the reason why people don't go to the movies as much anymore. So original stories and original IPs are, in spirit, the right move to make. But I don't think that this is going to work, because I think that they are trying to target the wrong people. COVID-19 did not.
No.
COVID-19 isn't the reason why Gen Z doesn't go to the movie theaters.
Right.
Gen Z doesn't go to the movie theaters because they're socially atrophied and they are into gaming and social media and the internet. So unless Disney is going to create its own TikTok, Disney Talk, or some sort of a Disney app that's a social media platform, you're not going to get Gen Z, because Gen Z, as far as I can tell, statistically, largely, they're not going to the movies. They're on TikTok and they're on all of these other weird things, and they're playing games like Fortnite and Minecraft, and they're doing Roblox. So if you want to tap into the Gen Z market, you're going to have to go to where they are, which is all of those places, not movie theaters. So the fertile ground for being able to recreate magic when it comes to movie theaters, in my opinion, is our generation, the millennial generation. If you want to refill movie theaters, that's who you need to try to market to, because Gen Z ain't on that. They're done with that. You got to meet them where they're at. And so you have to develop apps of some sort that can engage them, dating apps, things that can get them the information in the ways that they consume it. That's how you're gonna be able to meet them. You can't even really look. I mean, even the video game market, I feel like that's dried up when it comes. I feel like Gen Zers spend more time doing mobile gaming or alternative gaming like Roblox than they spend playing PlayStation or Xbox. So even in those areas, if you want to try to attract Gen Z, I feel like it's an exercise in futility, because they're not going there, because that's not where their sensibilities are. So I just think that they're barking up the wrong tree. And I'm not here to try to tell Disney what tree they should bark up, because I think that they have largely contributed to the ruination of a lot of cool stuff because they just own everything. Monopolies are never good in any capacity. I don't care whether it's business, entertainment, or anything creative driven. When one conglomerate owns all of the stuff and they essentially can have carte blanche, they can just do whatever they want with impunity, it's going to yield a degradation in quality. It's unavoidable. So I'm not a fan of the way Disney has just acquired everything. So I'm no fan of them, and I do think that they've ruined a lot of stuff. But at the same time, I do agree with the idea that original IP is the right way to go, but I just don't know that the Gen Z audience is a viable one to try to market to, because I'm hard pressed to think that there's a way to get them to go to the movies. Like
Right.
I think if you want to catch Gen Zers, you just got to hit them on streaming and TikTok, because that's what they're doing. Hit them on streaming and TikTok, and create a game that's like the Disney equivalent of Roblox. I don't know if such a thing exists. For all I know, there could be. I don't keep up enough with that stuff. But if there's not, that's what they need to do. And hey, y'all need to take all of those billions of dollars and create a Disney version of TikTok, where it's a social media platform, but it's Disney driven and it's all Disney stuff. I don't know how that would work, but that's what y'all need to be doing if you want to get Gen Z, because that's what Gen Z is on. They're not on getting into the car and going to the movies. That's what we were on. I don't really think they're on that much.
No.
But hey, man, if there's any Gen Zers who are members of the tribe, or if there's parents who are raising Gen Z kids, let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, and if the Gen Zers do like to go to the movie theater. I kind of feel like outside of unique situations like the Minecraft movie,
Right.
outside of lightning in a bottle type situations like that, I don't really know that Gen Zers in droves are really the kind of audience that's going to run to a movie theater, if you can figure that out. So good luck to Disney, but not really, because I don't root for them, because I think they suck.
Yeah, they destroy everything. They destroyed my ESPN. Oh, and by the way, man, our boy made the confirmation. Our boy Scott Hansen, he made the confirmation that there will indeed be commercials. He didn't confirm nor deny it, but he said that if it were up to me, we would show football the whole time. But it's not up to me. So he basically, and so the guy that was asking him questions was like, "So are you saying there's going to be commercials?" He's like, "That's not my decision." So he was being real ambiguous about it. But I'm telling you right now, if they don't give me 7 hours of uninterrupted football, now mind you,
now hold on, bro. Listen. Let me just rip this Band-Aid off right now. I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off for you right now.
Please.
Yes, NFL Red Zone will have commercials going forward, especially now that ESPN owns the NFL media assets, and NFL Red Zone is expected to be part of their direct-to-consumer service. So I'm ripping the Band-Aid off right now.
And this ties back into the first topic where I was talking about sports and what it do to people. You see that level of distress, y'all, that just took me through? They shouldn't have that much control on my life. I damn near almost flipped over the desk. Because I was only speculating, man. But to get the confirmation to know that I won't be able to watch 7 hours of unbothered, unsustained football highlights is now gone. Yeah, man, that rocked me to the core. But I shouldn't be watching football for 7 hours anyway. But I digress, ladies and gentlemen. All in all, it speaks to Disney. I don't think they can get anything right at this point. And like I said, I think they've been so out of touch with reality for almost the last 2 decades. Yeah, I don't think they'll ever get that back.
Well, the worst thing is they don't have to get it right, because if they own everything, it doesn't matter. That's the worst part. So, whether they get it right or not is almost irrelevant because they own everything. That's what sucks about it.
Yeah, it's disgusting, man. But hey, we'll see what happens, man. But yeah, they already messed with my red zone, bro. That was the one thing in life, bro. You talk about you, man. That was the one thing I was like, hey, guess what though? I got red zone on Sunday. Now it's gonna be red zone, Mountain Dew, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, All State.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
man. But yeah, man. This is not a shout out to Disney. This is a Disney go to hell. So yeah, no shots out for this episode.
Yeah, I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Monopolies are never good. They're not. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of them. Never have been. Monopolies are never good. Well, they're good for the people that they're good for.
Right.
They suck for the paying customer.
Right.
A monopoly has never been advantageous for the paying customer. The paying customer gets screwed by monopolies every time. So good luck. But I don't think that their plan is going to work. I think they are targeting the wrong people. I don't think Gen Zers are going to movie theaters. I think if they want to bring people back to the movie theaters, number one, make better stuff and target the people who are more likely to go back to movie theaters because it speaks to their sensibilities, which is going to be millennials and older people. The Gen Z people are running around on TikTok 24/7. So you got to meet them where they are if you're trying to appeal to them.
Yeah, fair.
All right, guys, we're done, man. Another edition of Conscious Approaches in the books. JV wins, Dogon SS. As always, thank you so much for tuning in as we sign off. Check us out, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Check us out on TikTok and Instagram at ConApproach, ConApproach. And check me out on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. Shouts out to my Florida State Seminoles for dragging that Alabama Crimson Tide. It's so wonderful to see them get brought back down to earth. As my boy Castellano said, Nick Saban ain't here to save them. So I am loving every second of this. I had a great weekend, man. I passed my class real estate exam and Florida State one all in the same day.
Hell yeah.
You can't get mad about that, man. But as I always like to say, everybody, have a mind of your own. Think for yourself. Don't be a group thinker. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the commentary in this or any other video. Check out the rest of the videos in our content library as we continue to flesh out this community. And until next time, we thank you so much for being a part of what we're doing here, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Yeah. And the name is Dogon SS. Skr. And you can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS, on YouTube, DraftKings, MySpace, Facebook, hell, man, X. There's a social media platform, Dogon_SS is out there. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow, and all that good jazz. And as JV Wynn said, man, congratulations to the FSU Seminoles, because I can't stand those bastards. But who I can't stand more is the Alabama Crimson Tide. So shouts out to Tommy Castellanos, because I knew that guy was a pain in the ass from when he played at BC, and he sure enough gave them hell. So as long as he doesn't give my Hurricanes hell, I don't give a damn what you guys do. All right. Hey, and as I say every week, ladies and gentlemen, we greatly appreciate you guys watching. All right, sharing. All right, liking and consciously leaving comments. All right, and hitting that subscribe button, of course. All right, and we greatly appreciate you guys. I mean, honestly, man, without you all pumping your life force into this channel, it wouldn't give us the ammunition to keep this thing going. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for all of your contributions to the channel, whether it's great or small. All right, and as I say every week as well, all right, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it play, and don't let anybody get you off your pivot. All right, including the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, because they didn't get me off my pivot, not one bit. Go Canes, more rings than Robert Ory. We'll see y'all next week.
That's right, y'all. Thank you very much. Catch you on the flip side. We are out. Peace.
Peace. Man, go Kings. Yeah.